Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 36 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show for February 2020, Tim. It's still weird to say. I know we're a month in, we're past a month now, but it's still weird for me to say 2020. But here we are, February 2020, and we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. My name is Jonathan Leung. I'm the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
I'm okay. You know, typical Texas. Burning hot, wearing shorts the other day, and freezing cold, might get snow today.
Exactly. So. You know, what's that meme? It's like Texas weather throws out temperatures like Powerball numbers, right? It's basically what it is here. You never know what you're going to get from day to day. But we hope it's pleasant wherever you are. And if you are joining us in the live chat tonight, be sure that you give your comments, your questions throughout the show there, and we will try to get to them when we can. But Tim, how are things going?
It's good. We just a busy time of year. Lots going on. You might remember last year we had a pizza eating contest.
Yes.
And I kind of had forgotten about it because it was during grand opening. Well, the winners called me the other day and they were like, "Hey, are we going to have it again? We're ready to defend our title." And they own a gym here, and another gym said, "We'll take you on." So in about 2 weeks' time, I put together the second annual pizza eating contest, which will be Sunday, and it's now also National Pizza Day.
Well, there you go.
So perfect day. So I have really worked a lot the last few days trying to get ready for this contest.
And obviously, I mean, it seems like this is the time of year where things are starting to probably pick up a little bit. I know after the holidays, it seems like restaurants may be a little bit slower because people still have food from Christmas, New Year's, things like that. But it seems like this is probably getting close to where business is starting to pick up a little bit more.
Yeah, especially on the weekends. And then the weather's helped a lot, too, because there's not a lot you could do outside or you would want to do outside. It's been rainy and cold and just kind of nasty weather lately.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that does help bring people inside, definitely, when we have a little bit nastier weather. Well, thanks for giving us the Mr. Gatti's update, Tim. Now, we do have something we're going to be talking about later in the show involving a Gatti Land.
Yes.
Here in a bit, just as a teaser. And so we'll get to that whenever we get to the discussion portion of the show, Tim. But I was just wondering if you're able to make contact with this particular Gatti Land that we're talking about.
I tried and rang, and I don't know if they come in later or what, but I weren't able to get in contact with them. But I still would like to, even though I couldn't. I'm going to try to find some emails or something I could send somebody just to see if they'd be interested in talking about it.
Sounds good. Well, we'll give you guys more of an update later in the show on that, so make sure you stay tuned to the discussion portion of the show later on in this episode. So, Tim, we have a couple of people finally in the live chat tonight. It seems like it was a little slow to go in there, but we got YouTube Punk. He says howdy, howdy.
Hello.
We've got Danny Ransom. Nice to see you guys again. Nice to see you again, Danny. Wasteland Warrior. Hello from Indiana, Tim. Okay. So we have some Indiana viewers out there. Mr. Silverball Mania, hello from the Buckeye State. So there we go. And Josh B. Indiana here too. So there you go.
We won't complain anymore about being cold. I'm sure it's much colder where you are, where you guys are used to it.
That is the one thing here, Tim, is typically it doesn't get too far below freezing, right? We may hit the high 20s sometimes. Most of the time it's pretty warm here. Tim, I prefer the warmer climate personally because you don't have to shovel heat. That's what I like to say. So it's just, for those of you who are shoveling snow, though, good luck with it. Hopefully you can get all out of your driveway and get your car out there and all that good stuff. So, well, Tim, I think we've kind of covered all the bases as far as like our live chat and everything is concerned. So let's go ahead and move on to some of the updates that we have from the previous shows. So, Tim, obviously, whenever we answer questions here on the show, sometimes people are nice enough to write back and give us an update on their issues. And, Tim, this first one that we have is from Andy. I don't know if you remember Andy's issue, but he had a Frogger that was having some major color issues.
Yeah, it was like last month, wasn't it?
It was just last month. That is correct. So we do have a follow-up here from Andy. He says, "Thank you so very much. I got a degaussing coil this weekend and tried it out. The link from Fry's was a model that was sold out at all of their stores and online as well. I did find one on eBay for about the same price. Watched your helpful video and it worked like a charm. The cars have color again and the green is consistent. Here are 2 pictures of my new screen and the old monitor picture at the bottom. Thank you so very much. Now to try to tackle a Black Knight that I got at the same time as the Frogger, Andy in Georgia." So Tim, here's the one on
wow.
the far
Yeah.
left there is the original picture that he sent us before we recommended the degaussing coil. And Tim, the middle and last pictures are what happened after he used the degaussing coil. Isn't that
Awesome.
amazing? I mean, so it's always good to get an update like this, Tim, where we get to hear that somebody did fix their game based on the advice that we gave. Now, he did mention that the fries link that we gave is totally out of stock. Tim, I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like fries has been losing a lot of stock, if that's a way to say it. A lot of people are speculating that they could be going out of business, although they have not officially announced that. Do you have any thoughts about that? I know we're big Fry's Electronics
I know the last time I went in one, I was really shocked at. They still had a pretty big electronic section, but just in general, how down it was, and it made me wonder. I'm like, wow, usually Fry's was. But that's where you bought like a lot of movies and DVDs and stuff, and you don't buy that stuff much anymore at the store.
Sure.
So maybe a sign of our times. I hope that they're not going out. Maybe they can restructure. It's almost like Fry's to me is too big a store.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, for just electronics store.
If they built it smaller, like a Dollar General size, and just put the stuff like electronics and stuff in there, maybe, I mean, a few things, I think it would be fine, but it's got to be expensive to heat and cool and pay rent on that place.
Well, you got to remember, I mean, they don't want to become Best Buy. I think the whole appeal of Fry's was that you could get anything there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The last time I was in a Fry's was January of last year. We bought my wife's phone at a Fry's.
Okay.
And when I went, some of the aisles were bare, but it wasn't like empty, I would say yet. But some of the pictures we've seen online, Tim, show completely empty stores almost.
Right.
Which is, like it says, leading to a lot of speculation. Fry's has not said that they're closing, but there's obviously something going on, Tim, for them to be doing what they're doing. So not to get too far off the arcade topic, but Tim, we know a lot of our viewers out there may have a Fry's Electronics near them. And if you do, they usually carry a good selection of electronic parts that Radio Shack used to carry.
Right.
So if you're in a pinch and you need something really quick, maybe a capacitor, a transistor resistor, a lot of times the most common electronic components Fry's will carry, which is nice. But unfortunately, nowadays, like we mentioned, Tim, the shelves are looking pretty bare. So we do want to wish Fry's the best of luck if they're trying to get back on their feet. Hopefully they don't close down, Tim. It seems like we keep getting news of retailers that are closing down, and it depresses me every time.
Yes.
So hopefully they're not closing down for good, but hopefully they're doing some maybe restructuring or something like that, restocking in a way, and can get back on their feet soon. So anyway, if you guys have a Fry's next to you somewhere, please let us know how it looks at your place. We'd love to, just find out. So, Tim, we have Mr. Dwayne79 here. He says hello.
Hey, Dwayne.
And then we have YouTube Punk, who gave $15, and he's
Wow.
out. You pay and then leave, and that's fine. We understand everybody can't stay around for the shows. We all have busy lives. But here's the deal. We appreciate every donation, especially from our regular viewers like YouTube Punk. Thank you so much, YouTube Punk, for donating. And remember that you can also donate by using the Super Chat link below, that little $sign, Tim. Right there by the little emoji sign.
Okay.
That's the one. If you hit that, you can make a donation to us, or you can go to arcaderepairtips.com/donate.
Right.
We mentioned last time that you can do a PayPal donation for those of you guys who don't like the YouTube creator split, which we're fine with. But if you'd rather do PayPal, we have that as well at arcaderepairtips.com/donate. All donations are greatly appreciated. We thank you guys so much for your support. And he says he's going to catch the replay, and he's always asking about a new video, Tim. I wish I could get around to editing videos.
We've got some.
We have tons
right?
recorded, exactly. If I could just get around to editing them, it would be great. One of these years, months, decades, I don't know. We'll get one around. Sorry, YouTube Punk. Hopefully at some point we can get a new one out for you. So. Okay, Tim, let us move on to another update, and this one's from Greg, the Rexer Show. You guys might remember. And he was looking for a way to extend the joystick on his custom Galaga Miss Pac-Man Captain. Right. And so what we mentioned was getting an extension. So a shaft extension, Tim, and that's what he ended up doing. So he got a extension shaft and a large ball top from FocusedAttack.com. He has a small ball, but he likes the bigger ball better. And
it looks really good on there.
It really does, and I think that I really think the bigger the ball on the top really helps you control it better. Yeah. Sometimes if you have the smaller ball on top, you tend to maybe lose your grip of it a little bit more. So from a player standpoint, Tim, I do like having a big ball top joystick or the big ball on top of the joystick. That way we can easily control the movements and everything like that. So, but it looks really great. It looks, and I don't know how close it was. He didn't really give us a before photo of how it looked with how close it was to the control panel. But looking at this picture here, Tim, it looks just about perfect. I don't think you could ask for anything better than that. So thanks for the update there, Greg. And you guys should check out his YouTube channel, the RexerShow.com, or the Rexer Show on YouTube here. He's got some great videos there, Tim, especially of that build in particular. If you haven't seen his custom Miss Pac-Man Galaga build, it's really nice looking. So, okay, Tim, YouTube Punk says, forgot to do it PayPal style next month. No trouble. You know, we're, like I said, we don't care how it comes in, right? I mean, it doesn't matter to us, but we do appreciate every single donation we get. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody who's just here. You don't have to donate. If you're just even here, we appreciate you.
You could send a bag of nickels and we'd be okay with
it. That's right. Exactly.
I go to Coinstar and cash it in.
That's right. Exactly. You're going to get you like a Amazon gift card or something. Can't get charged that fee, Tim. I'm just saying, get in the gift card. Be smart. But, you know, it's been a while since I've been to the Coinstar.
Me too.
So, now... Off topic, you were looking at being a technician for Coinstar one time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you actually applied for a job.
Yeah, and I think about that time, they must have downsized and started taking them out of a lot of locations. At one time, they were in every bank and superstore, grocery store. And so I think that was kind of their idea, was that they were going to downsize a little bit. And so the current technicians they had, they thought could cover everything.
Now, here's the deal, though, Tim. I do still see them around. There's one at a Walmart here in town that I've passed by fairly frequently because I go to the pickup there. And so when I go to the pickup, I pass right by a Coinstar machine. But they are still very popular, apparently. It is a coin-operated machine in a way.
Yeah, it is.
So there you go. But, hey, even Coinstar machines need technicians.
Right.
So there you go.
That's a sorter.
That could be your job right there, Coinstar technician. So I just wanted to take my coins. That's all I wanted to do. Sometimes it kicks back coins I think are good. Just saying. So, yeah, I don't know what the the mechanism is. I assume it's like a little slot spinner or something like that, kind of like what you have with a token counter or anything with else, you know. But anyway, haven't actually opened up a Coinstar machine. For those of you guys who have, let us know. So there you go. Tim, it looks like we're caught up with the live chat, so let us continue on with the questions for this month. And the first one we have here is from Jeff. Good day. I was wondering how hard it is to replace the power source for a Lethal Enforcers arcade game. Also, is this a part you carry that I could purchase? Thank you so much, Jeff. Well, Tim, I can obviously answer the second part of this question pretty easily. We do not stock parts except for parts that we need. We do not sell parts. We are not a retailer. But if you are looking for a retailer, you can go to arcaderepairtips.com/resources. There is an arcade parts supplier heading on that page that you can look at, and it has a whole list of people that we recommend to supply you with power supplies, buttons, joysticks, whatever else you're looking for.
Right.
So, but Tim, how hard is it to replace a power supply in a Lethal Enforcers? That's the question.
It's not very hard at all. In fact, I would say it's probably a 15 to 30 minute job tops. It kind of depends. Lethal Enforcers is right in that era where a lot of them were switching from a linear or switcher type like we see or we recommend a lot to maybe an ATX style. But all you really have to do is find out where your pinouts are and which pin wire goes to what on your power supply. If you're not sure, you can take a voltage meter and actually check them. But usually red is your 5 volts, yellow or orange is your 12 volts, and then you'll also probably have a -5, and then blacks are your grounds and so forth. So it really is not very hard at all. In fact, there's probably one in there, and if you talk to HAP Controls or go to their site, you tell them what that one is. A lot of times they can find you a plug-and-play replacement, which really makes it easy. You could do it in 5 minutes or less then.
Sure, and if you can get the part number off the original power supply, you can match that HAP part number with a different supplier. Tim, there's nothing against HAP, but if you're only ordering one power supply from HAP, it's very expensive.
Right.
Whereas you're better off going through one of their distributors for the most part.
Believe
you're
that's
just buying one. So
yeah, a lot of their distributors, even a lot of people on our page, will sell you one cheaper than they will, especially with shipping.
Exactly. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the slide real quick. So replacing a power supply in most 90s era arcade games is typically a pretty easy task. Tim mentioned 30 minutes to an hour tops, and that's probably about right. Most games built during this time use either a standard switching power supply or an ATX style power supply. Standard switching power supplies use the screw down terminals that we're so familiar with, Tim. You just basically unscrew, you take off the terminal, or you put a new one on, you screw it on the new power supply, whatever. While ATX style power supplies use connectors to hook up power to the cabinet. So start off by opening up your cabinet and determine what power supply is currently installed, like Tim mentioned. See if you can get a model number off of it. If it's an ATX style, it probably will have that model number on it, which is really nice. If it's a standard switching power supply, those are pretty interchangeable. You don't really need to get the model number off. You just need to order a standard switching power supply.
Yeah, I think I said linear. I didn't really mean like the old school linear. I meant more of like a kind of like what looks like a router.
Yeah.
Maybe best way. I try to think what do new people that aren't really into arcade games, like obviously this guy's question,
right?
Kind of looks like a router in there. And that's, if you have that style, then whatever style you have is a style I would replace just to save time.
Yeah. So a standard switching power supply, like I said, has the screw down terminals. So when you look at it, you're going to see a whole row of screws. And each screw will correspond with a different voltage. So you'll know real quick whether or not it's a standard switching power supply or whether it's an ATX style, just based on whether or not you see this line of screws or you see connectors instead. Tim, this picture that we're seeing here is actually the inside of a Lethal Enforcers 2, and you'll notice that it has an ATX style power supply inside of it.
Okay.
And so it is possible that your Lethal Enforcers has an ATX style power supply in it. Tim, in a lot of gun games, it seems like we see more ATX style power supplies than we see standard switching power supplies. Think about Area 51, for instance, is a great example. So if you do have an ATX style, just get the model number off of it, and you should be able to do a search for that, find it. If you're looking for replacement, or if you're looking for a particular vendor, make sure you check out our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources. Tim, we can mention a couple that we recommend. We do like Arcade Shop. We like Twisted Quarter. Who are some other part suppliers that we recommend? Obviously, HollandComputers.com is one that we recommend a lot. Twisted Quarter, though, and Arcade Shop are going to carry a lot of HAP parts. So if you're looking for a particular replacement, one of those would probably be a good way to go.
Yep.
So, Jeff, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck replacing the power supply in your Lethal Enforcers arcade cabinet. Okay, Tim, let's see what we got here. We got John next. You ready for this one?
Sure.
Okay, let's answer John's question. I have a 60-in-1 table arcade game, and when I start up, it goes into power save mode, and then it does nothing. Any advice would be helpful. Thanks, John. So, Tim, we've seen this a lot with 60-in-1 tables, where basically the screen will just say power save mode, or it'll show that for maybe like 5 or 10 seconds and shut off, or whatever the case may be. So when we're seeing this power save mode on the monitor, what's really happening behind the scenes?
Well, what's happening is it's really the monitor's not giving a signal. In fact, it'll probably go blank or shut off after a short time. So the monitor's not getting the signal, which could be several things. It could be just a dip switch or something on the game board setting, so he needs to make sure that it matches. For instance, does he have a computer style monitor? Or, if it's a different style monitor, what it needs to match his settings. Then also it could just be wired wrong or something. So that's what he needs to check. He needs to figure out what his board requires. Of course, if it's a 60-in-1, you can do both. You can have both.
You can do CGA or VGA.
Right,
correct?
CGA or VGA. And so if you want, it depends on how you have it wired up. Do you want to do a VGA? Would definitely be the easiest.
Sure.
And if it's newer monitor, then hopefully it has a VGA cord. But if it's not, you want to wire it CGA. There's instructions are even in the book, I think, that tell you a little bit about that. But we've also shot plenty of videos on that he could watch.
So now here's the deal, Tim. Like, let's say we check all the connections between the board and the monitor, and everything checks out good, but we're still getting this power save mode issue. What do you think's going on at that point?
Well, then you got either a monitor issue, which it could be in the settings of his monitor. A lot of times you notice that everybody, when you go to turn on your TV, now you have a bunch of choices, right?
Right.
Maybe it's on an HDMI port, or maybe it's on the wrong input.
Sure.
And that will cause that issue. Or he has a problem with his main board that's not sending out the video output. One way to check that would be to hook, if it's hooked up, CGAs, to hook up a VGA like a computer monitor or your laptop or something that you could check that with to see if it's coming on that screen. That would eliminate if it is a bad monitor or his board is okay.
Sounds good. So let me go ahead and put up the slide here for John. And Tim, I just took a picture from a Dell 24-inch that says entering power save mode. Seems like you see this a lot. When a monitor goes into power save mode, like Tim mentioned, it usually means it's not getting a signal from the board. This can be due to the video settings on the board being changed, power supply not sending the correct voltage to the board, issues with the board, among other things. So start off by checking that the video settings on the board are set correctly, the monitor is connected properly, and the power supply is putting out the correct voltage to the board. If all that checks out, then you're probably having a board issue and will need to replace. Tim, you got to remember these 60-in-1 boards are manufactured about the cheapest way you could possibly manufacture a board, and we have seen several 60-in-1 boards go out. Now, the nice thing about 60-in-1 boards is that they are manufactured cheaply, which means that they are cheap to purchase. So if you need to replace it, it is cheap. But like Tim mentioned, you really want to make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row before you really suspect the board is the problem. So make sure that you've got all your connection stuff kind of resolved. Make sure you've got it in the right mode. So if you've got the VGA hooked up to the board, make sure you have the VGA set on the dip switch settings on the board. If make sure the cabling between the board and the monitor is good, all that kind of stuff. And if you're still having trouble, then check the power supply, and if the power supply is good, you may have a board issue. So kind of the whole troubleshooting troubleshooting steps.
If you can kind of think of it this way, if I go buy a TV at Walmart and I just set it on the table and plug it in.
Right.
If I have no cable running to it, I have no Roku, no Fire Stick, nothing. Right. I just plugged it in. It's just going to come on. It may say exactly the same thing because it has no video going to it. That's your problem, more than likely. But you did mention something in the notes, Jonathan, that caught my attention. If he's having a power supply issue down in the game, his board, we would always ask, is the game playing blind?
Sure.
Because if the game is playing blind, then it's just a connection issue.
Right.
You can hear it and everything. But sometimes, like you're saying, maybe the board's not getting power to push the video.
Exactly.
But the monitor's plugged in. So same thing. It would be just the same as putting it on the table without anything going to it. So you got to make sure your power is correct. Got to make sure your video wires hookup is correct.
Sounds good. So John, hopefully that answers your question, and good luck getting your 60-in-1 back up and running. Please keep us updated as well. Okay, we just got something in the live chat here. Tim from Mr. Silverball Mania, can you sometime explain the RGB with ground and sync and how they work? So obviously, Tim, this is how you wire up like a CGA or a standard arcade monitor. Obviously, all monitors are a little bit different as far as how they're set up with that. But I mean, Tim, RGB, red, green,
and
blue. Then we have our ground wire. Then we have our sync wire. Okay, so all you have to really do when you wire it up is make sure that the wiring that's coming from the pinouts of your board matches wherever the corresponding spots are on your monitor chassis, right?
Thankfully, red is usually red.
Right.
Green and blue are usually, in ground or something, will usually be black. Usually the white wire is your sync wire, and you can't really mess it up. It's like you can hook it up, it just won't look right. It's no power wires there. They're not going to send power through your system or something. I'm sure it's not good to hook it up wrong, but I don't know that it's ever damaged anything that we're aware of. It could, but then again, it's not that hard. So on the sync, you sometimes have to guess. Is it composite sync? Is it horizontal? Is it vertical?
Positive,
right,
negative.
Positive or negative sync. And that's probably a little bit more than discussion here, but if you'll research that about sync issues, go to Bob Roberts. He has a very good tutorial page.
I think we may be talking
that.
about that later in one of the questions. But you're exactly right, Tim. I mean, hooking that up is very important, making sure you get that right. I'm with you, though. I don't think it necessarily hurts anything to hook it up wrong.
No.
But you will find that there's a lot of monitors, Tim, that may take composite sync, or you may have composite sync coming from your game, but you may have horizontal and vertical on your actual chassis, and so you have to split that.
Yeah, what you got to think about is what kind of game is it? Like Pac-Man is a vertical game.
Right.
So it's going to have different types of sync than, say, a horizontal game.
Right.
So that's one way to look at it. What am I trying to do? Am I going with vertical or am I going horizontal? That might help you narrow it down a little bit. Now, a lot of your game modes, your game manuals and stuff like that will tell you what kind of sync output it has.
Right.
So not only do you have to know the monitor and what sync it needs, you have to know what kind of sync your board requires, and then how to make the two connect.
Exactly.
So just because you could switch game boards and it not work with another board.
Right.
Or switch monitors and it not work with that monitor the first try. So anyway, I hope that if you really go to Bob Roberts' page, we'll talk about that again later.
Yeah, I think we have it. I'm going to look through the outline real quick.
I think it will really help you because it kind of goes into some details and with some pictures. And we also talk a little bit about it.
TheRealBobRoberts.net/sync.html. That'll give you the most common configurations for the older school monitors, so like 4600s, 4900s, K7000s, G07s. It has the pinouts for all of them, Tim. So if you go to therealbobroberts.net/sync.html, you'll get a lot of information on the sync. But hooking up the sync is really the trickiest part of hooking up a CGA style monitor or a standard arcade.
And once you've done it several times, it's real easy. Because
Right.
like I said, most of the time the red wires go together. Then the other ones, you're just kind of, I usually just strip the end and put it in the pins. And oh, there it is.
Right.
And that's the one I'm going to put it in. Or, oh, it's not working on any of them. Well, I might combine the two and just hook it up that way. Oh, well, now it works. So
Yeah. Now, it's important to note that most of the games produced after the 90s are after a composite sync, which means that they have the horizontal and vertical tied together. Basically.
Right.
So if your monitor does not have a composite sync input, then you may have to split them, depending. So that's something to keep in mind. But there's all that kind of stuff that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're doing it. But that article from Bob Roberts, Tim, goes over a lot of that and will help you out tremendously.
we got a slide coming up in a little bit that'll show that link too,
Yeah.
if you want to get ready to write that down.
Exactly. So, okay, we got another question from Anthony. What would cause the image to appear squashed or look like it's curving at the edge of the tube? So, if it appears squashed or curving at the edge of the tube,
That's
Tim.
usually a capacitor issue where it's starting to fail.
Right.
It's also could be a sync issue, especially if it's a G07. There's what they call the curl
Right.
that kind of has a fold over look. But a lot of times those are capacitors that cause that, and a cap kit would fix that.
And you know, a cap kit does fix that a lot of times, Tim, in my experience. But you can also, I mean, vertical IC can also cause that.
Yes,
I mean,
when
if
it
a vertical...
starts in the middle or it's the whole thing starts squishing.
Exactly. So you may something in the vertical section for sure, but it really depends on how it's squishing too. I mean, when I say most of the time I say vertical because it seems like that's the most common that we see. And so a lot of times it's something in the vertical section. Tim mentioned capacitors could definitely be capacitors, but it could also be failure of the vertical IC itself. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we have a lot of that in there. If you check out our video on troubleshooting monitor collapse issues, it goes over a lot of different things that could cause kind of a squish monitor. Michael, of course, is in that video and kind of talks about a lot of that stuff. So if you're interested in that. But Tim's right. A cap kit fixes this in a lot of instances. I have at least 2 monitors in here, Tim, that were doing the exact same thing that I installed a cap kit on and it got it working. So, I mean, just to give you an idea. So, a lot of times if you have that squish. Now, the curl a lot of times could be a hold or sync issue. And so make sure you have your sync hooked up right, kind of like what we were talking about. Make sure you adjust your hold. Try your hold a little bit. Make sure your B plus voltage is dialed in, Tim. Because sometimes if your B plus is off, it'll do weird things to your picture, like make it curl a little bit. And so make sure that it is what's supposed to be on your monitor chassis. But other than that, I mean, like Tim mentioned, if it's G07, there's a sync mod that you can do that can take the curl out. That'll help you with that. So, okay. Mr. Silverball Mania, a little update. I took a Sony 27-inch home TV, found the chip for the RGB input sync, and ground on the board, but it has a double image and messed up colors. So, double image and messed up colors, Tim, on this TV. So, a lot of times that's due to a sync issue.
Right.
So, like if we see a double image, a lot of times it's getting a different sync signal than what it expects.
Well, it's a frequency issue.
Right.
And so... Yeah, what you would need to do is buy a converter probably to get it to work right.
Depending. Now he said he let's see what he said. He found the chip for the RGB input sync and ground on the board, but it had double image and messed up colors. Yeah, that is a good question. Obviously, Tim, and there's maybe something with that chip that's going on. And a lot of times when we get double image, Tim, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like sending the wrong signal, right? Like it is expecting, 15 kilohertz, we're saying at 25, something like that. Like when we get this double image. But it could also be that that it's out of sync, could be. So if it's getting the double image though, I mean, Tim, I kind of hate to be like Michael on this, but like may want to take the board out of that TV and check all the solder joints real quick.
Yeah.
I mean that, and just to see if there's anything cracked or cold, because there could be something in there that's kind of causing the sync to be a little messed up or something like that. Could be failure parts though, hard to tell really without like being familiar with the board, I guess. So, but if I think of anything else, or if we could find more information about the TV, we may be able to pinpoint it. So, and that. Tim, probably
and it may never work.
Exactly, but
it's
probably
just a TV.
I was about to say, but probably also a good question for Michael as well. Something we
Yeah.
may hold on to and refer you to him on. So he says, thanks you guys, keep up the good work. So there you go. That was from Mr. Silverball Mania. Bruce says, how do I diagnose a sound problem? Speakers and amps seem to be working. It is on my SCI Special Criminal Investigation machine. So, Bruce, we have a video on troubleshooting sound issues, right?
Yes.
Or audio issues, something like that. Troubleshooting audio issues that you need to check out. Has a whole lot of things that you can do to check. You know, if
A lot of times, we'll go simple. A lot of times there's hidden volume pots on your board.
Sure.
I've had a lot of games when I work for Chuck E. Cheese, and I'm adjusting the volume, trying this, and then it ended up being on the board, a little bitty dial or something. Sometimes, so check your manual and see what it says about. And some of it is software where you actually go into the settings,
Right.
and adjust, like on your 60-in-1 board.
Exactly.
You can go in and adjust the volume like that. So I'm not too familiar with that game. It sounds newer.
It's not too new. I'm trying to think of how old that is. I've seen them before. You've seen it too. If I showed you the cabinet, you would
I'll
know
probably know it.
I think it's a police style driving game, if I remember correctly. So, like I said, if you saw the cabinet, you'd
So
recognize
2000s and up though.
No, probably earlier than that.
Earlier? Okay.
Earlier than that. And I wish I could think of it off the top of my head, but I don't think we've ever owned one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and like I said, go through the video because we do cover a lot of things that can go wrong with sound on troubleshooting sound issues. That has a lot
I
of
think
good
we
stuff.
try just about everything that could possibly go wrong with sound.
Right.
I guess there's always something strange, but I do start simply though. Where is the volume pot? Is it down in the bottom? Also look on your board and make sure, and also go into the settings and make sure there's not an adjustment in there.
And we talked about this too, Tim, where capacitors on your main board are usually a good way to identify where the audio amp is on your board, and so you may look for that. If you trace back where the audio pins are on the actual edge connector back through the board, you can find where the audio section is, and you can kind of look in that section to see if there's anything that may be
We used to have skee ball games at Chuck E. Cheese. The sound would go out in them all the time, and it was one little capacitor right near the heatsink.
Gotcha.
And I would try everything, and then finally, a guy at skee ball says, I'd send them in, he'd charge me $200, they'd send it back, it worked great. I'm like, what did you do? He goes, oh, there's a capacitor right there, a 50-cent capacitor, and they're charging me $200. But anyway,
they gotta make money.
Yeah, they made a lot off of me in my earlier years. So
exactly. So I mean, it's one of those things, though, Tim. It's you may have to fiddle with it a little bit. If you have a separate sound amp, Tim, you can hook a different source up to it if you really want to. If you have like an actual external sound amp.
Yeah, a lot of newer games now, we will hook up a set of headphones and
Right.
listen to it, like the 60-in-1 and stuff like that. You can actually hook up and hear, what's going on. But if you'll watch that video, I think that will help you a lot, because we show how to test and how to do a lot of things to the how to test the pots.
You mentioned that too. A failure of a volume pot is a possibility as well.
Yeah, very, very possible, but it's easy to check with a meter.
Sounds good. So Bruce, hopefully answers your question. Good luck getting the audio working on your SCI Special Criminal Investigation Unit.
I gotta look up that game now. That's
Yeah,
pretty
there
cool.
you go. Here, you got your phone.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the question. You can look it up while I got the question.
SCI okay.
Special Criminal Investigation. I'm telling you, you know
Okay.
it. But anyway, let me read this question from Phil while Tim looks up this game. Here we go. Hello, I am new at this, but I have one question. I'd like to take a JAMA cabinet that has 2 light guns, but modify it to switch out to 2 joysticks and buttons while keeping some classic originality. Is that possible? I'm worried about buttons and configuration issues. Thanks. So Tim, we have Phil here. I'll give you a minute more, and while I do a little summary here while you're looking that up. But Phil basically has a JAMA cabinet that's a light gun game. So it's something like a maybe Lethal Enforcers. Okay, do you recognize it now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I recognize it. Looks like
Okay.
Speed Racer on top. I remember it now.
Okay, there you go. Anyway, getting past that now to Phil's question. So he has a light gun cabinet, but he's wondering, can I take that light gun cabinet and modify it, add some joysticks and buttons, but I still want to keep kind of the look of it or the feel. Is there a good way to do that?
Yeah.
And what about the button configuration? He's kind of worried about that. So.
Well, you're definitely gonna have to change it up some to make it work with a multi-game.
Oh yeah.
But one way that we're going to recommend, if you want to go ahead, you can go and bring up the slide if you want, John, that you can actually put the holsters or what holds the guns on the sides of the game.
Right.
That way, you still have the guns right there for the gun games, but then you have the buttons down here and then, it's all tomato. What do you like?
Exactly.
What kind of layout do you like? I know you grew up in the fighting games. You like that.
Joystick 6 button. Yep, joystick
Right.
6 button.
And, I might prefer them kind of 4 buttons kind of spread out a little bit more. But, it's to each his own at that. But I do think if you take the guns out of the way, that definitely gives you a lot more options And a lot more space to deal with.
And allows you to keep the functionality of the guns, Tim.
Right.
So I'm assuming here that what Phil wants to do is make this a generic JAMA cabinet, but he wants to be able to play his light gun games and maybe play some 6-button fighters or some other things as well.
Sure.
Or get a multi-game board that he can swap in with the current light gun JAMA board that he has. And so if he wants to do that, he could keep, like we said, he could keep the guns mounted on the side and keep them hooked up to the light gun JAMA board in his cabinet, and then he may have to rewire the harness to add the joysticks and buttons. And when I say rewire the harness, he could either put a whole new harness in, which would work, or he could repin the harness that he has.
He may need to repin a few things.
Right, exactly. So, because usually with light gun games like Lethal Enforcers, Tim, they don't put they
don't even put the wires
and the
buttons.
pins in the slots for the buttons. And
no, they're saving money all they can, to make those for that game.
So he may have to insert some pins and some wires into those joystick ports, or Tim, he could just get one of the fantastic JAMA harnesses from Holland Computers and just rewire it with that one instead if he wanted to. That's an option as well. But he could just insert wires in his current JAMA harness. Tim, we mentioned they use the 0.156 terminal pins, which you can get from Twisted Quarter, Tim. You can get them. They're like 5 cents a piece or less. They're like 5 cents if you order one, and if you order them like in a 100 bag, they're like 2 cents a piece or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They go down based on how many you order. So I mean, they're for the most part they're pretty cheap, but that would allow you to insert wires and pins for the joysticks and buttons because they're probably not there right now. Your other option there, Phil, would be just to get a whole new harness. If you want to get a whole new harness, you could do that as well. And if you're going to get a whole new harness, Tim, make sure you buy it from Holland Computers because they have the best, right?
Right, they are the best.
They are the best. So, yeah, it's not hard to do. You could keep the aesthetic for the most part. If you're going to be drilling the holes, okay, so if you're going to be drilling the holes, take the plexiglass off if you have it first, and then drill your holes, and then use a step drill bit on the plexiglass to cut the plexiglass through, okay? You can use a hole saw on your control panel if it's a wooden control panel, Tim, or even if it's a metal. Right. Make sure you use a bimetal hole saw, Tim, like we always recommend. So, but it should be a pretty easy process, not hard at all. You can get the 6-button template like I like online. You can find people who have them. You just put the paper down, you draw your little holes, and you drill where you want. It's easy. And like I said, then screw back down your plexiglass and use a step drill bit to drill your holes in the plexi. So it may be a little nerve-wracking if you've never done it before, Tim, but overall not a hard process. So, Any other tips for Phil as far as this project is concerned?
No, let us know kind of how it went, Phil. I'd be interested to see some actual pictures of your game would help too.
There you go. So, Phil, hopefully answers your question, and good luck adding a joystick and buttons to your nice light gun arcade cabinet. Okay, Tim, I've got a question here from Julio. And Julio says, hello, I have a question to ask.
Okay.
I have a 4-player arcade control panel that I bought. I was going through the games, and a lot of them are 4-player games, but they only work with 2 players, not all 4. I'm not good with names of this kind of stuff, but all the games are in this thing called Baby Star. I would like to know if I am able to play 4-player games on Baby Star, or do I need a RetroPie or something else? So, Tim, I did some research on this one because I was not familiar with the Baby Star, but what the Baby Star is, Tim,
it's a multi-game. It
is a multi-game board, and a lot of people may know it more as the Games Family board, and typically this board has like 2,000 games on it. Okay. And it's a PC, and the PCB looks like a 2-layer stack with a hard drive. So basically it's a PC 2-layer stack with a hard drive off to the side.
Okay.
And so I looked at the manual, Tim, and wouldn't you know it, there's a way to change all individual games from 2-player to 4-player.
Wow.
And so that's what we've got
right there in the manual.
Exactly, in the manual. So I went ahead, I put it up here. According to the manual for the Baby Star system, which we found at this link, bit.ly/baby-star-manual. We'll put that in the show link so you can see it. It does have 4-player support. The manual also states on page 17 how to switch between 2 and 4-player modes. So you got to turn on Dip Switch 4 on Switch 2 Bank. Okay, you got to do that first.
With the game off.
With the game off.
We should say that.
Okay, then turn the game on, press the mode key to change to 2 or 4-player mode, turn off that Dip Switch, or shut down it.
So you can do
this
with the game on.
See, it did not say whether you had to have it on or off. I assume that you can do it with the game on just because of the way they're saying it. So, but you do need to set that 2 or 4-player. Then it says you have to enter any game, play it once, then exit back to the game list, and then it will save it.
Okay.
So maybe the person who had this before you, Julio, just did the first 3 steps and didn't do the 4th step, and they didn't save the option.
Probably so.
Now this also means that you should have your 3 and 4 players wired up, which it does show you how to do that in the manual as well. So make sure you have your 3 and 4 players wired up to the board the way it's supposed to be wired up. There's actually a little external board, Tim, it looked like, that goes with it that you have to hook the 3 and 4 players up to. So make sure you have everything wired up. But if you do, you should be able to switch it from 2-player to 4-player, and that should give you the extra 2 players on some of the 4-player games. So, Tim,
I've never seen a Baby Star.
I have not seen them in person. I have
pretty
seen
cool.
them online. And they're usually, in the past, they've been super expensive. I think the price has come down a little bit. I'd say super expensive, like $200, $300, which is a lot for just a multi-game board. When you can get like Pandora's boxes for less than $100 a lot of times, So I am not familiar as much with them, but after seeing the manual, I think that that it should be pretty easy to do. Hopefully, Julio can figure it out. If you have any problems with it, Julio, let us know and we'll try to help you out further. Okay, Tim, we got a question from Wasteland Warrior. Got a barn find today, and when I moved it, I heard something rumbling around inside. I managed to get my hand in the coin door, and the game bit me, then hissed. What would cause this?
Oh my gosh.
I think we all have an idea of what that was, Tim.
Wow. I hope you're okay.
That's right, exactly. You might want to contact poison control. But
right.
No. Obviously, Tim,
Hope it was a rat snake or something.
Need to be careful when opening up arcade cabinets, especially in barns.
Yeah.
And we have experience with this. Tim, a lot of times when we open up a cabinet, we won't open up the front first. We will open up the back first. And so what we'll do if we don't have the key is we'll draw out the lock on the back.
Yeah.
So be careful anytime you're getting anything in a barn. And Tim, I don't know here if Wasteland Warrior is serious or if he's just kidding with us, but obviously you want to be careful anytime you open an arcade.
Yeah, there was a
cabinet.
good discussion in one of the groups the other day. It was talking about what have you found inside of a game. And one guy found like a Rolex and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy, all in like one pinball game. But anyway, you definitely want to be careful the first time you ever open any game, even when you buy an auction. Tell them where it's been and what it's been through.
Yeah, YouTube Punk says womp womp and it has a little snake. Little snakes. Obviously, be careful. Like
Plenty
I said,
of mice.
open the back first.
Yeah.
Open the back first, just to make sure.
Yeah.
So, we've seen a lot of mice. But
Yeah,
you see,
totally.
Tim, that's the thing about it is that when you
Where
find
there's
mice,
you find predators.
you may find snakes and other things. So, always want to be careful with that, Tim. But we've opened up our fair share of cabinets and seen. We've seen a lot of.
I've seen snake skin.
Yeah, we
but I
have
haven't
seen
found
snake
a-
skin. Haven't seen
found
an
a
actual
snake.
snake in one. So, but want to be very careful. Like we said, try to open up the back of the cabinet first. Always a good idea. And then if, like I said, if you can't get it open with a key, just drill out the lock, Tim. We have a video on drilling a coin door lock or something like that, or replacing a coin door lock. That's it. So just follow our instructions on that, and you can get into the back and not have to worry about getting your hand bit or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So we hope you're okay. If it's serious, if not, we got a good laugh out of it anyway.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay, Tim, let's see what else we got here. We have William. Let's go ahead and get to William. Hey guys, love the videos you do. Would you be Would you be open to answering a question, giving some guidance on how to adjust the screen on an old scramble cocktail table? My screen is shifted to the side some, but I can't seem to find the place on my monitor to adjust the picture. Thanks for all your time. No worries if you don't have time to assist. Again, like all the vids you guys post. Now, Tim, obviously, we've got time to answer this because we're answering it right here. So
We made time for William.
We made time for you here, and we're going to help you out with your scramble. Now, Tim, it sounds like it's slightly shifted. We don't know if it's to the left or to the right, just as to the side a little bit. So, and it is in a cocktail, so it's
Right.
a little bit tighter space than what we might have with other cabinets. So, how can we adjust this little side to side on his scramble cocktail?
Well, a lot of it would kind of depend on the type of monitor that he has.
Sure.
If it's the typical that back in that day, like a 4600 or a G07 or
49.
K4900, there's different ways to adjust that. And if you want to, you can go ahead and show the video because we got a good picture. Now, the first one, the top picture up there, there's two different pictures you guys can see.
I put them both here because I wanted him to see them too.
Yeah, it's more of the 4600 style, or the 4900, I'm sorry. And then if you...
No, it's a 46. You said
it's a 46?
Top one's a 46.
Okay. And so you want to adjust that just a little bit. You see the horizontal adjustment there? And so you can turn that. slightly, and it should move your picture side to side. Now, the bottom one is definitely a G07, and that one has a jumper wire. So you see those two adjustment pots. Then you'll see, if everybody can look at their screen, I think you kind of circled it there, didn't you, John?
The picture, I pulled this from another website, but yeah, the picture shows the
picture circled. If you guys can see that clearly on your screen, there is a jumper wire there, and it is on the far right. Right now, there's 3 places that it can plug into. If you'll move that to the middle or even the left, it will adjust and move your picture over.
And I'll go ahead and read what we got here. You kind of summarized it really well, Tim, but I'll go ahead and read it. Based on our experience, most scramble cabinets came from the factory with either a Wells Garner 4600, Tim, which is most notable for the cards.
Okay.
The horizontal vertical card and the little whatever card, I forget them. Or the G07 installed. If you have a Wells Garner 4600, try turning the master horizontal hold centering control, which is at location L351.
It's that big silver square with the red dial in the middle.
On the horizontal and vertical board. You can find information about this at therealbobroberts.net/slanted.html, Tim. You can go there. He's got a great write-up on how to do this. If you have a G07, there's a jumper that you can move between 3 different prongs that allows you to set the horizontal positioning. You can also try adjusting the horizontal frequency as well. Now, Tim, if you have problems and you still can't get it to kind of be, correct, maybe a sync issue. It's possible. Make sure that you have your sync, that the sync wire is making a good connection to the rest. The sync wire is making a good connection to the rest of your chassis, because I have seen that before where the sync wasn't making a good connection and I couldn't get it lined up just right. And so it's very possible that you have that. But you got to be, these two are, the case 4600 in particular can be a little tough to get to. So you have to be careful when you're turning it there. But if you do it, it should help you adjust it. Now, if you have a 4900, there's a different adjustment for that. But we're just going by the fact that you have a scramble game, and these were the 2 monitors that were the most common in that game. So, but again, try these and see if they work. Now, Tim, as you know, people have also taken that 3-prong horizontal positioning adjustment and put a potentiometer there. So you can do that mod as well if you want to, which will give you a little bit more play. So if you want to do that, that's one. You can find that mod online. I'll find a link to it. I'll put it in the show notes if I think about it. But the jumper should give you enough play. But if you need a little bit more, you may think about putting a pot there as well. So, William, hopefully that answers your question. Anything else here for William, Tim?
No, I think that should help him and put him on the right direction.
Sounds good. So hopefully, William, that answers your question. Good luck adjusting the horizontal positioning on your arcade monitor. Okay, so we have a couple of people discussing the snake, Tim.
Okay.
Let's see. BKAS 724. Have you ever found a body in an arcade game? Nope.
Not
but you
yet.
can fit one in there.
You probably can.
So it depends on the game, though. I would say that.
I moved a couple that was heavy enough. There might have been a body in there. Felt like it.
It's called a 27-inch monitor.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see. Maybe Hoffa's in a cabinet somewhere. That's from the Rexer show. He's here tonight. Let's see. I saw it on CSI once.
Wow.
Now I'm scared of finding a body in one. There you go. CSI, Tim.
I've definitely found an old squirrel body, a mummified squirrel maybe in one.
Yeah, I found some other things. But YouTube Punk was asking what game it is. We'll find out hopefully soon.
Okay.
John has a question, though, here, Tim. He says, good evening, guys. I'd like to put a full-size cabinet in a carpeted room, probably in a corner with just a little gap for ventilation. Any suggestions on how to protect my carpet? Sliders.
Yeah.
Furniture sliders. Would be the number one thing to do. So, the furniture sliders, if you guys have not used them, you can get them. You can get the cheapies from Harbor Freight, or you can get really nice ones. But furniture sliders are probably the best thing that you can do. So slide it where you want it. And you can even leave them under it. I would probably take them out, because it's pretty easy to rock the cabinet back, take them out, rock it forward, and then take out the backs. And and it shouldn't damage your carpet too much as long as it's just sitting in one spot. You should be okay. Putting casters on it, really nice casters may be a good idea as well, Tim. Some
yeah,
that are
they
gonna
will
make
still,
it sit up a little bit.
the weight of them will still probably indent on your carpet, though.
Right, you can't help that. You're going to get that no matter what. Now, you could try putting a piece of cardboard or something underneath it, or
one of those like rubber mats that you see that people use for static or whatever, but they actually, you can get them at Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot, just the rubber matting. You can put some of that under there too.
But no matter what, your carpet's probably going to take a little bit of a hit. doing that.
A lot of weight.
Exactly. So, I mean, you're going to deal with that. If you move it and then vacuum it a couple of times, it'll get those fibers to kind of pop up a little bit more, I think. Right. But you may have a little bit of damage, just depending. But obviously using the sliders and then putting something underneath it, once that's done, probably the best way to avoid that. So he says, I know I'll inevitably need to spin it around for repairs, so I was thinking about furniture glides or something. I'm not sure how well that would work. The cabinet has those 4-disc metal feet. That's why I was thinking about the sliders. I was wondering if it'd be able to spin it for access. Yes, those sliders, Tim, are usually very good about that. So you can take a piece of furniture that's very heavy and just move it in any direction.
We use sliders at Chuck E. Cheese. A lot of times they will they have a sticky tape. You'd unglue them, or we would glue them to the bottom. Because every month we would move every single game, and if it had a slider on it, some of those games are huge, and you could just push it out of the way, vacuum under it, clean under it, and push it back.
The only thing about furniture,
of course, it was very short carpet.
Yeah, if you're going to keep it on there, make sure you get the really good furniture sliders, though, because I have had them damaged before under the weight of an arcade game. So make sure you get some that are rated for some heavy furniture. The ones at Harbor Freight are not.
We would buy ours at Granger most of the time.
Yeah, so make sure you get
a little more industrial.
I was about to say, get the good sliders, not the plastic ones. You may even, they have the metal ones, Tim. I don't know if you've seen those. So you might consider getting the metal style ones. They have like the little rounded cup on the end that's metal instead of plastic. The plastic ones tend to crack under a lot of weight. So, but hopefully that answers your question, John. Yeah, you can leave them under there, and like Tim mentioned, maybe putting maybe a wraparound of duct tape or something on that to keep the slider on the caster would be a good idea. But those usually allow you to spin the machine fairly easily.
Our friend Stan, though, put wheels on all of his games, and he had carpet out in his game room and would just move them all around. Yeah. So caster would be another, or wheel would be way to go.
Absolutely.
Again, you get what you pay for. So
absolutely. So hopefully answers your question. Let's see, that was Josh, and let us know what you do and how it works out for you. I'm curious. The PS1 Addict is here, Tim. So that's really cool, too. So I think that's Josh from the Arcade Collectors Worldwide group.
Okay,
so,
hey, Josh.
Yeah, so there you go. Wasteland Warrior says, Harbor Freight sliders are horrible. Walmart has a nice set. Yeah, the Harbor Freight ones are like one-time use.
Yeah.
Because they crack very easily. But, I mean, they're great if you're just going to use them one time.
Right.
Like, so if you're just doing one move, they'll do one move really well. But if you're doing more than that, get you some good ones. So. Okay, Tim. Well, the last grouping of questions we have is a grouping of questions from YouTube.
Okay.
So, and we've been doing this the last couple episodes where we just take like 3 questions from YouTube and kind of throw them all in here. And so that's what we've done here for our last one. So I'll go ahead and throw these up here. 3 questions from YouTube tonight, Tim. Lauren says, how do you connect video to an old monitor? Which I think we've already talked about tonight.
Okay.
Robert says, why not just swap in a modern power supply instead of using or rebuilding a classic power supply? Okay. And then we have Michael says, please help. I bought a game and played it for about 10 minutes and then smoke and then nothing. Okay, so let's take these one at a time, Tim. So, Lawrence, how do I connect video to an old monitor? Now, we already talked about it, right?
Right, we did talk about it a lot tonight. Most of them are RGB, and the red, green, and blue and ground are easiest to sync wire that you have to watch, and we do have videos on that. We're also going to show you a slide.
Right, exactly. Well, we have the link here, Tim, to therealbobroberts.net/sync.html. When I throw that up here, you'll see it again, and when we show it, make sure you write that down, because that discusses a lot of the common sync configurations that you have with different monitors. So make sure you take a look at that.
All right.
Now, Tim, Robert has a really interesting question, and one we get a lot.
Right.
Why not just replace a classic power supply with a modern power supply?
Well, because some games run better with the original, and a lot of times if you're trying to save money, they're cheaper to rebuild.
Right.
And it's just nice to kind of keep it original, but at the same time, if you if you'll watch a video where we talk about a lot on a lot of our shows that the Williams games really don't like the newer style.
Right.
And they can actually cause some damage. You want to talk about that a little bit more,
Right. Well, our Williams former programmer friend Ken talks about this a lot, where the linear power supplies in Williams games were developed so that the 5 volts, as soon as you turned them off, immediately went to 0. It did not tear down the voltage, basically.
It's kind of like taking your computer every time and just quickly unplugging it.
Right.
Not shutting it down and letting it. You're going to get some corrupt data after a while, or probably your chances are high.
So what happens is that when you use a switching power supply, the voltage steps down. It doesn't just go from 5 to 0, right? So the Williams was designed 5 to 0.
Right.
But a switching power supply will go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Right.
Okay, and so what happens is that those chips were not designed to run off low voltage. So when it gets that 4, there's a chance that the processor just starts spitting out garbage to your memory locations. And so it can erase your high scores, it can erase your settings, it can erase all sorts of stuff, which is why in most cases it's better to use the original power supply in Williams games than it is to use a switching power supply. Now, Tim, we're going to talk about an exception to that in your tech tip.
Yes.
Because I found an exception to that when I was doing some research for what you want to talk about.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that here in a second, about using a switching supply in a Williams game.
Okay.
But as a rule of thumb, better to rebuild the classic than to try and replace it with a switching if you've got a rebuildable classic power supply. Now, Tim, there's some games where I'm not as picky about that.
Right.
You know, it really depends. It's on a per game basis, I would say. For instance, Pac-Man games.
I was going to say, a Pac-Man or a Miss Pac-Man to me run a lot better.
Exactly. Off of a switcher.
How many have you seen where the edge connector's all burned and stuff? And that's one reason why.
Exactly. And that's what we talk about in the video that he left that comment on, Tim, is that on those, it is better to use a switching power supply because that AC to DC conversion that happens on the board...
Right, it's better that it happened on the power supply.
Exactly, better to happen on the power supply than at the board level.
Right.
Exactly. So, and that's why we have a lot of burnt traces on edge connectors for Pac-Mans. But anyway, so now, Tim, the third question was from Michael, and obviously he was getting some smoke, Tim.
Okay.
And decided he was going to turn off his game, which was probably pretty smart on your part, Michael. Because, you know, and here's the thing. He bought it, right?
Right.
Plays for 10 minutes. And then the smoke. Right, exactly. So it's like, I bought this thing, it was working when I bought it, and then it blew up. Now, what happens, Tim, though, when we move games?
A lot of stuff.
Exactly.
More often than not, something happens.
Sometimes people aren't so good at screwing down things when they're working on games. And so what ends up happening is that you move a game and things just, chassis falls out, board just falls out and stuff like this. So, quick tip for everybody in the chat room and everybody who's watching at home. Open up the back of the cabinet and screw down everything before you move the game.
Right.
Just a good rule of thumb. But anyway, so what options, though, does Michael have at this point?
I can hear the voice of my dad. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So where there's fire, that's where you got to decide. You need to open it up before turning it back on or trying anything else. Take a flashlight and try to see if...
Start smelling.
Yeah, use your nose, use those things. And then you can even unplug the monitor, unplug the board, turn it on, see if there's any power going through your power supply. Hopefully it's there or it's a fuse there or something going on and you won't damage anything else and you can do that. Or it could have been your monitor. Maybe if you unplug it, plug your game board in, it plays blind and you know it's in your chassis. So or you inspect your board really close. Everything else seems fine. You've got net glow and stuff, but then when you plug in your board, you get nothing. So you're going to have to try just a little bit of trust all of your senses, your hearing, your smell, and then, of course, your sight. And use a flashlight. Look around. You'll probably find something. It's a multitude of things that it could be. Could be just a bulb or something, but obviously it went out and quit playing.
Right.
So hopefully it just blew a fuse or something like that, like it was supposed to, and it won't be too expensive a repair.
I was about to say, a lot of times this happens, right, because we have a short somewhere or something like that, or something shorted. So, if the chassis was not screwed on good, and then it made contact with the frame, all of a sudden, boom, right? We got a little bit of fireworks, something like that. So, going around, looking for black parts, Tim, anything that looks black or melted or something like that is a good idea. And smelling for stuff, Tim. We've smelled for stuff before. You smell that smoke smell, and you just is that coming from the power supply? Is that coming from the board? Is that coming from the monitor chassis?
Yeah, and everybody knows that electronic burnt smell has a little different smell too.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's not anything major.
Oh, we know that smell good. Yeah. I'm very familiar with. So let me throw the slide up here. So Lawrence, this one's for you, okay? So again, red, green, blue, ground, and sync. That's what you need in order to hook it up. Tim, I have a picture here of, I believe this is a Geo7 pinout. I can't remember. But just one that's taken from the realbobroberts.net/sync.html. But that has a lot of good explanations about how the sync works on different monitors. So, Lawrence, if you're looking to hook up a classic or a CRT monitor, arcade monitor in your game, that will definitely give you a lot of great information on how to do that. Robert, some games run better with the original power supply installed, like we mentioned, okay? For example, Williams games, as they don't take kindly to the voltage drop-off of modern power supplies. So like we talked about, it doesn't like that 4, 3, 2, 1 drop off whenever the power supply goes off, and it can write corrupt data to memory locations on the board. So so important to make sure that you use, if you are going to use a switching power supply, to find a way to ground that out, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And Michael, figure out where the smoke is coming from inside your cabinet, and just give us more details. We can help you out further. So if you can find where it's coming from, then we can help you out. Now, Tim, you'll see this nice little burnt section in this board that I posted here. Sometimes you find that. Yeah. Exactly. Not his board, but sometimes you find that, right, Tim?
Right.
So be very, 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 very careful. Don't turn it on until you've got an idea of where that damage could be.
Agreed.
Okay, are we good there? We got everything?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So let's see what we got here, Tim, in the live chat before we move on. Josh gave us $10.
Oh,
he says,
you,
thanks,
Josh.
guys. Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh, for your donation. We greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Mr. Silverball Mania. I bought 4 games, had a 2049, a Tekken 3, Trophy Hunter, and prize game for $200. Got $190 in quarters,
Wow.
and all but one game worked.
Wow.
So you got the deal of the century,
Right.
Tim. Can I just say that? So there you go. Deal of the century. Old game show. You should look it up. So anyway, Wasteland Warrior, listening from the John tonight. Deviled Egg's a bad choice. There you go. Sorry about that, Wasteland Warrior.
That's a different bird smell.
I figure most people probably watch this show on the can. Am I wrong in that? I'm just saying.
Is it a cubicle or a can one, right?
That's right. Wasteland Warrior says, how do I donate? I love this show. Okay, so you can hit the $sign below.
Right.
Okay, and do it through the super chat, or you can go to arcaderepairtips.com/donate.
Right.
That's how you can donate tonight. Let's see what Josh B. I know it's like Car Talk for Arcades, huh? I've been listening to the podcast on the road all the time. Yes, so we are kind of like Car Talk for Arcades, kind of. We do a little bit of different stuff too sometimes, but yeah. We've been compared to Car Talk,
okay.
Which is Car Talk still a thing? Because I thought that they were going to disband.
I haven't heard them
or
in a while.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know, but that's about the closest comparison I guess that we have. So there you go. Danny says, had that happen to one of my games, a cracked flyback. Wasn't pretty. So smoke. A lot of times when we smell smoke, Tim, it seems like a monitor flyback is a very common place where that's coming from. So let's see. Oh, YouTube Punk says, should be the $sign icon. That is correct. So $sign icon is what we're looking for. But if you want to donate to the show, we greatly appreciate all donations, and we thank you for joining us tonight. You don't have to donate to be here. We don't require that of you, but we do appreciate all donations, and it keeps us going here, and we get to do all sorts of cool stuff. We do all sorts of cool stuff with it, like buy equipment and get you stuff to do streaming on location, which we need to do still, and things like that. Hey, we need to do a show from Mr. Gaddy's. Yes, we need to do that. You have good enough internet now there?
I think so.
Oh, you see, sorry, I've got my smart speaker on over there.
Oh.
I need to turn it off, don't I? But I think she keeps listening on us, but it is what it is. So everybody else is listening, so there you go. Michael says, let's see. Oh, YouTube Punk says one of the brothers died on Car Talk.
Oh,
so that's why we haven't heard him in a while. Yeah, one of the birds passes away on Car Talk. Yeah, so, man, I hate to hear that. I listened to it kind of on and off. Didn't listen to every episode, but, I mean, I'm a sort of car guy. I know a little bit.
Right.
Like very little. And
enough to know when to take it in and get it fixed.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've done some work. I used to work at a used car dealership for my uncle. So I have done some things like I can change oil and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, anything beyond like normal maintenance, it's probably going to the shop.
Actually, I would say that working on arcade games has made me better at repairing cars.
Yeah.
Because now if a light's out or something, I don't take it to anybody, But I did a couple Saturdays ago, no, a Sunday actually, I took the day and we've got new windshield wipers for everybody. Because everybody was complaining about their wipers and my daughter had a headlight out. So I just spent all afternoon, I said the garage is open. And I'll tell you what, wipers have become difficult. They're not the same, and
Depends
you have
on
all
the
these
wiper.
adapters and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel I need, and so what I do? I watched a YouTube video.
That's right, exactly.
And I learned how to do it. So, once I had the right adapter, once I did one, the others seemed to go faster. But I was like, wow, times have changed.
You also replaced windshield wipers. I also replaced windshield wipers. And guess why I had to replace them?
Where?
Went to the car wash and it ripped one of mine off.
Oh, no.
Yep. So that's great. But here's the deal. I had already ordered replacements
Oh,
because
so you knew-
I knew my windshield wipers were old. But literally, it caught on one of the little squeegee things that rubs up against the car and ripped it right off.
Wow.
So the plastic piece that held it to the windshield wiper, the wiper part was still there.
It didn't scratch your glass or nothing, right?
No, it didn't
That's
scratch
my
my glass
fear
at all.
is that one's going to come off, then it's just going to be...
No, it just
all
took it off with it, and it just ended up off to the side. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to go home. So I went home immediately and replaced it. I got Rain-X over here too, which I highly recommend for people who are doing their windshields. If you're doing your windshield wipers, put the Rain-X on there. Rain-X, Tim, a lot of times, if people don't know, it's like wax. So like the same way you would apply wax to a car, you put Rain-X on your windshield. You apply it, you let it sit for a minute, you take it off, and then when you're done, it beads up on your car windshield stuff. And to be honest with you, when you first apply it, you almost don't even need windshield wipers. It's so good at beating off the stuff. Of course, they help a lot. Now, what brand windshield wiper did you go with?
Well,
I'm curious because I saw a YouTube video on the best one.
I went with 3 different brands.
Okay.
Because my son has a newer Mustang, and he went out and bought the highest. I think the highest one. I'm trying to think. I bought Rain-X. I'm
Rain-X
pretty
are
sure.
good. Rain-X has a good rating.
Now, which one did he buy? I'm trying to think. Bosch.
So the Bosch is like pretty close to the top.
Yeah, he spent. I'm like, how much you spend on wipers? And he was like, I don't know. It was close to $38 or something. I was like, why? Yeah. Why'd you spend that? He's like, well, I wanted to get good ones and I wanted them to last. And I'm like, your mom's car. Now hers, I think she got the advanced or the generic one. I don't know. She got the.
Now, did you get the blade
high
type?
top blend.
Did you get the blade on all of them, or did you get like the standard windshield wiper on some of them? You know what I mean by the blade, the kind of one that flops.
No, I didn't get that on any of them.
Okay, I'm a big blade. I'm a blade fan. That's why those were so expensive.
The triple one, like?
Well, no, it's not a triple. It's like a little flexible blade, and so what it does is it kind of conforms to your windshield when you hit it on. When you put it on.
His had that.
Yeah,
his
the
had
Bosch.
that.
I was about to say the Bosch. You can. I don't know if Bosch makes the traditional wiper or not.
Right.
But I like the blade.
Kind of bend it.
Exactly. The blade type are the best, like for getting the water off. Bosch is very highly rated. It's like top 3. Bosch is the cheapest one that you can buy without spending a fortune.
Right.
That's what I'll say. So, like, it's the best one you can buy without spending more than $50 for windshield wipers. So, there you go. But anyway, totally off topic. But you got me talking on windshield wipers. It is what it is. We moved to car talk. You say, there you go.
I'm just saying, if windshield wipers have gotten that complicated, I don't imagine what rebuilding an engine is like these days. So
absolutely. So
how about it? We got anything in the tech?
We do. We have some. Somebody says they want us to do the this is YouTube Punk says Mr. Getty's live show and game tour.
Okay.
They want to throw the game tour in there. So we'll see. We may be able to work that out. We have 5 weeks till the next live show, which may give us a little extra time to set something like that up. So we'll see. Michael McCormick, I have a custom Lawn Darts Silver Strike combo, and I need to make a new female VGA connector for one of the machines. I have the crimper and the parts, just need some expert advice. I mean, as far as the crimping and stuff goes, it's really usually, I mean, with those, Tim, you just solder on the wires that you need, and then or if you have the crimper piece, you can crimp the pins on and insert it into the connector. I mean, it's really not complicated. You have to be very, very careful.
We've done a video on crimping stuff.
Not that small, though. VJ's a little bit different with those individual pins, if that's what he's doing.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different with that. You want to be very careful because those pins are very tiny in comparison to the ones that we usually use in Molex connectors. So just be very, very careful. And I would highly recommend a magnifying lens. Okay, when you're working with it. Tim, we used to have that big lighted magnifying lens that we could put stuff under. Something like that.
I remember what you're saying. One time what we did, John, was we actually, so we stripped it back. Right. We put it through there. We crimped it. Then we put a little solder and we pulled a little heat shrink over it just to make sure it had a real good connection.
Gotcha.
And that was one way that we did it that seemed to work really good.
There you go.
If you're having to do a lot of them, though, it would be time consuming.
Absolutely. Michael Bloom, that's exactly true. A lot of logic requires diagnosis of faulty arcade machine applies to many things, including working on cars, like you mentioned, Tim. That is right. No conspiracy, no job. Is buying, fixing, and arcade games, then putting them in convenience stores a viable business? Will they take them? If so, how much would you split the money? Would you split the money wise or money wise?
Well, every state has different laws.
Yes.
And all I really understand and all I've ever operated is in Texas. So I will tell you this much: the first thing you have to do in Texas, you have to buy an operator's license, which I think is still $200.
Right.
Then you have to buy a repair license for like $50, so $250 a year, whether you own any machines or not.
Correct.
Then you have to pay a tax sticker per game of $60. So you're out $310
minimum,
or 1,200 and something quarters before you ever even get started. So what you have in Texas by law, you have to split it. I think it's 50-50. The only way we've ever gotten around that was to tell them you're not making, that's 50-50 of the profit.
Right.
Well, you haven't made profit until that game has taken 1,200 quarters. So I usually negotiated with them and said, look, the first pull or something, we're going to pay for the taxes and all that. You split that with me. We'll make sure then we start splitting 50-50. But to be honest, I mean, how many do you see out on route today? Not a lot, because there's just not a lot of money in it anymore. Most of the arcades that are successful have other stuff tied to them. Now, saying that, it's just they take so much abuse when you put them in laundromats and stuff. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, especially if you're pretty good at repairing games. You have to be good at repairing games in order to make money at it. Otherwise, you'd spend all your money on the repairs. Gun games, stuff like that, I would avoid because of the wear and tear and damage that people do to them. But if you had a decent game, a Miss Pac-Man or something, it might do okay, but you don't expect to make a killing and retire off of it.
I was gonna say, we've had the best luck with fighting games.
Yeah,
I mean, if
a two-player game where people can play each other or sit-down racing, they're pretty durable, I guess you could say, something like that. I wouldn't say don't do it because why not? If you want to, it's nice to have that operator's license and to be able to do that. Jonathan and I had some success at a place kind of like GameStop.
Right.
It wasn't a GameStop. It was more local.
Independent game store. And because people come in there like to play games, well, they also like to put quarters in them. And that was one way that we did was we would put an astronomical or a higher price than we thought we could get at any auction or for sale. And eventually that game would sell. Somebody would play it so much they would really want to buy it, take it home, and then we'd just put another one in there. We made probably the most money we've ever made off of those games in that particular fighting games in that particular location. So you got to have a good location that's willing to let you put that. But know the laws in whatever state you're in. They're all different. For instance, Oklahoma, I don't think you have to have an operator's license, or it's just a tax that you pay. Or there was one state near us, I think you don't even have to pay anything. There's like nothing, Right. So or it's $5 instead of $60. So every state is different. I would be sure to check into that before. You certainly don't want to do anything illegal, because once you get caught, if you get caught, there's a lot of times hefty fines and stuff that certainly don't make it worth even attempting to try. Right. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, you can do it. It is a little on the expensive side to get started, but once you do that, then you're in business and you can take money. You may make some, you may not. Like Tim mentioned, 50-50 split here, but you can negotiate that as long as you have a written contract that says, we're going to take the first pull or whatever it is, then you can negotiate that with the location owner. And, a lot of location owners are fine with that.
Right.
We've noticed. Like, they're fine with, or saying, okay, we're going to do a 25-75 split for us until the game's paid for, and then after that, we're going to move it to the 50-50 split.
Or another example we had a crane machine that we had to supply toys for. Well, if you're paying for the toys plus giving them 50 cents, it's not really fair. So what we would do is every time I would buy toys, we would take that money out and then split what was left.
Exactly. Stuff like that. So you can negotiate that.
But in Texas, you actually have to give them half. It's not like you can negotiate and give them a quarter and you keep 75. I think it's actually half that you have to pay them.
Right. I think you can negotiate that, though. Like I said, if you have a written contract,
so.
I think you can do it. But like I said, you have to have it written down. Right. It has to be written down, I believe. So anyway.
Good question.
There you go. And he says thank you. So there you go. Let's see. There you go. Project Farm did a wiper blade shootout. Michelin won. Yeah, I think Michelins were expensive, though, if I remember correctly. So let's see here. Michael McCormick, this is a very unique machine. Now he's talking about the VGA. Okay. It has a toggle switch between the games, and the game is playing blind. It has a custom VGA to edge connector, and that got broken. Okay, yeah, so you are going to have to repin that. And that, like we were saying, just be careful. Because you're talking about some really tiny pins in there. So, not too tiny, but it's a little cumbersome to deal with. Let's see. Michael McCormick, thanks for answering my question, guys. I appreciate I enjoy the show very much. We're glad to hear that. We like that you guys like watching it because we wouldn't do it otherwise. So there you go. Always great. Wasteland Warrior Tim, $10.
Wow,
thank you so much for that. We appreciate it.
Thank
we appreciate
you very
it.
much.
And he says #1 fan. So
Wow.
He's got the little little emoji or whatever it is there. So.
Right. He not only learned how to use the button, he got all fancy and technical over there on
Exactly.
it.
There you go.
Nice.
YouTube Punk says John from John's Arcade has his machines in a barcade like place. He said it was 50-50. He's in Jersey, and it depends on where you're at. The laws are different depending on where you live.
Jersey is actually one of the strictest places. They actually have what's called a Jersey rule where it has to give out like a prize or something. It's really strange. The Mercy ticket is actually invented for most Jersey games. You have to turn it off, I think.
Yeah, No Conspiracy, No Job says he is in California.
Okay.
So I don't know what the rules are in California, but I bet there's so much red tape. I mean, just knowing how California does other things, Tim. There's probably a lot of red tape that you'll have to walk through for that. And another thing that you did mention, county taxes. So we don't have that in Texas.
Right.
But a lot of places have county taxes for the games as well. So you have to have not only your state tax license on the game, you have to have a county tax license on the game. Sometimes you have to have a city tax license on the game on top of that.
And say, now you understand that John and I from Texas, we're conservative. We barely count California as part of the country. Because of the taxes.
I wouldn't say that. I like California.
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I've been there, but
I'm just saying the red
as
tape.
far as just the taxes are horrible.
High taxes, red tape.
So I would really look into that. Everybody's going to want a cut of it, and that's why I wonder if it's really worth it anymore. Because not only that, then they wanted to charge you a sales tax on top of that. For both parties. So I don't know, check into it though. I don't want to discourage you because there was a time when people told us not to do it.
Exactly.
And probably times when I wouldn't have eaten had I not had some money that we had made, and we had made a lot of good money.
Yep.
And bought a lot of games.
But we check those games every week.
Yeah.
Every week you gotta be up there.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: game is down, you don't make money.
Right.
Game is down, don't make money. So.
Well, and we probably had a lot more respect for operators over the years, and we learned how to do some quick fixes and stuff that we probably would never do if we had more time or on our own.
Exactly.
Our own game.
Yeah. So there you go. But I think we caught up on all the questions.
Okay.
So now it's time for your tech tip. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up for Tim here, and I'm going to let you take it, Tim. Go for it.
Well, I will say that this time of the year, one reason I want to do this tech tip this month is because you got 2 times of the month that I try to do things. One is on right after Valentine's Day, and the other one is right after Halloween. So that's 6 months apart. And what you do is, it's a time of year here in Texas, a good time to fertilize your yard if you don't want a bunch of stickers and weeds everywhere.
I need to do that, by the way.
But it also
We're way off topic tonight. Right. Cars, lawns.
Well, I'm bringing it back to, it's also a good time to replace the batteries in like my safe at work or any smoke detectors that you have. It's also highly recommended that if you have a video game or a pinball machine in particular, has a lot of more batteries than arcade games sometimes, that you replace those batteries about every 6 months. And it's not something we always think about. In fact, you won't think about it until something happens one day or it quits working. But I'll read the tech tip to you. It says, batteries on circuit boards are often used to power a memory chip after the game is turned off or unplugged. This chip saves all the top scores, game settings, etc. When the game is turned on, it reloads this information and makes the necessary adjustments. Leaving batteries installed for too long can lead to the alkali in the batteries leaking out, causing damage to the board. Make sure you change your batteries regularly to avoid this. And I said, if you do the same thing I do, remember that Valentine's and Halloween are good times. There's 6 months to do that. Replace them in your smoke detector stuff in your house. Also, maybe your filters or whatever. It's a good time to change the batteries in games. I used to do this at Chuck E. Cheese all the time. Any game that I had that had a battery, every 6 months, I know our safe had batteries. I didn't ever want to come in one day and not be able to open the safe because the battery had died. Never happened one time because I was pretty regular about changing those. But if you don't change them, as you can see in the picture, they get that corrosion and stuff. Now, what do you do once they kind of have got corroded? Even if it's not leaked or done damage to your board, they can do some horrible damage to a board, almost irreplaceable in some instances. But what you can do, like in this one's not too bad so far, remove the battery, take a soft bristle toothbrush, and you can probably clean that up pretty good before you put another battery back in there. But just a tech tip to remind everybody, is that kind of time of year that I like to check all the batteries on my games.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, I mentioned something here at the bottom. This is the part I added. You can also install an NVRAM module to eliminate the need for batteries.
Right.
Okay, so the NVRAM, Tim, is basically a flash memory chip that goes in place of like the standard memory chip that doesn't require a battery. It uses flash memory. And so you can, by using an NVRAM, you don't have to have the batteries installed. You can actually take the battery holders off the board in a lot of cases.
Right.
So now here's where the Williams game comes in, is that Arcade Shop has an NVRAM chip for Williams games that takes care of the voltage drop issue with switching power supplies.
Okay.
So you could basically still use a switching power supply, and this memory, once the game shuts off, it protects itself. So that even if the processor tries to write to the NVRAM, it stops it.
Okay.
Okay, and it would prevent you having to use batteries on the board.
Right.
So
Wow.
from Arcade Shop, they have a Williams NVRAM chip that will no longer need batteries, no longer have to worry about switching power supply, processor garbage to the memory locations.
So everybody raise your hand and swear that you're going to go check your batteries in the next week before Valentine. You got a week before Valentine's Day. Of course, you take your wife, significant other, to dinner and buy her flowers and all that stuff. But also, you must show some love to your video games. And so, it's a good time. Tim's Tech Tip of the Month is to, if you've never changed your battery, I guarantee you it's time.
Yep. There you
So make sure that you change your batteries if your game has a battery.
Or install NVRAM. I was about to say, or install an NVRAM chip. So, now,
and of course, if you go, there's also a lot of people will transfer and go to the watch style batteries,
Yep.
The lithium batteries and stuff. Now those don't, but at least when they go bad, they do cause some issues, but at least they don't leak all over your board and eat and destroy everything.
yeah, I've seen
a lot
them
of
puff
the newer ones
a little
have
bit.
those.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've seen them puff up a little bit, but typically they don't leak.
Right.
So I think they can technically, but it takes a lot for them to leak. It's not like what
Maybe
you get
so.
with standard alkaline batteries.
Right.
So now YouTube Punk went on to talk about some other things. The nice thing about California, Tim, and YouTube Punk mentioned this, is that there are a lot of shows in California,
Right.
including the California Extreme. And so if you're out in California, it might not be a bad idea to connect with some other collectors that can help you out with starting a route, because some of these guys may have already done it.
Yeah, and that may be a great idea. One thing that helped me and Jonathan was if I couldn't go, he could go and stuff like that. It took a little bit of the weight off of having to go every single week or every day or check it.
One of us was there every week. It may not have been both of us.
Right. And most of the time we would like to go together because we enjoyed it. And also the establishment was good about telling us, hey, something's wrong with the game, you need to come look up there.
8 quarters, whatever.
Or some of it, we would
Joystick
even
not
teach them something really simple, how to fix it, so that you didn't have to run up there for every little thing, you know. So having a good relationship or knowing somebody that would let you put in a game and that would call you or tell you if something broke or whatever the case may be, this is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Tim, well, we're getting to the teaser. The
Okay.
thing that we teased at the beginning. And, Tim, obviously, this got a lot of feedback on our Facebook page.
I'm going to tease into this one and say, if you want to talk about a game that's going to last about a week on route, we're fixing to show you one.
There you go. Oh, you think a week?
I don't know, man. This thing is just, the way they mounted the readers, it just drives me crazy.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and show it here. Arcade 1-Up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet found at Gatti Land with swipe card readers installed. And Tim, this came from one of the Arcade Up modding groups. So somebody was driving through there, Anthony, in fact, I think is his name, and he was driving through Pikeville, Kentucky.
Okay.
Stopped at this Gatti's, Mr. Gatti's, and saw this thing on the game room floor.
Right. You
And
can see
took a
it's in
picture
the
of it.
arcade right there.
Right. So he did not post where it was. I had to ask him. And so
Uh-huh.
once I asked him, he gave up the location and everything. But I'm going to read the little thing here. Some pics emerged on February 3rd in one of the Arcade 1-Up modding groups of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade 1-Up cabinet that had been fitted with a card swipe system and put out on location. Photos were taken at a Gatti Land location in Pikeville, Kentucky. From what we can tell, they have 50 cents per play on it, I think is what Anthony said. Card swipe units are probably hooked up to the start button for each player. Now, Tim, you have to remember, this is set on free play technically.
Right.
Okay, but there's a start button for each player. So if you took the wires from the start button and hooked them up to the card swipe, technically you should get the same result, right?
Right.
And so I think that's what happened here. On most arcade 1-up cabinets, in order to exit the game, you'd either have to hold down the 1-player button or you'd have to hold down like a 2-player button to reset it. And so with a card swipe, you'll never get that hold down, so it'll never come out of it, whatever mode it's in. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's no way to exit the game.
Ah.
And if you wire around the power on buttons, because it does have a power on button on the control panel on an arcade 1-up, so probably what they did was they just connected the 2 wires to the power up button so that you kind of wire around that switch. And there is a volume button. I don't know what they did in that particular case, but they were pretty smart, I think, about how they did it, to be honest.
I was going to say, there's a little bit of genius in being able to do this.
Exactly. So, obviously there's a little bit of ingenuity to getting this to work properly. Now, Tim, this looks like the embed system that you guys have, right?
Yes.
How much are those card readers?
I think they're about $180, maybe $200 each.
Okay.
Ours have been under warranty for a pretty good while.
So you don't know, right?
So I haven't actually had to buy one in a while. But I want to say, let's just say for general purposes, at least $200 each, probably at least.
So $200, $400, $600, $800. That cabinet sells retail for $4.
Right.
Okay, so the card readers are worth twice as much as the cabinet itself.
And the problem I had, the first thing I noticed was where they're mounted. Every kid is going to sit there and lean on those and put their hand on those. And that cabinet's not made that sturdy.
Right.
I would worry about the control panel falling in from kids standing and on it. But those readers, to me, will be gone by Saturday.
Yeah, now the control panel itself, Tim, is attached to the arcade 1-ups with 4 screws. So,
I understand, but I'm still saying that it's not made to take that type of abuse.
Yeah, so what people do in order to keep them anchored down is they'll put weights inside of them.
Okay.
And I think that would work. So if you put, people will put a 50-pound weight inside or a 100-pound weight inside. If you do that, that will keep it down so that the kids can't, if they do lean on it, it won't tilt the game. But yeah, I've got 2 arcade 1-ups sitting right here. And yeah, if you leaned on these control panels enough, they would come down.
Right.
So,
well, they don't stick out like that one does. That one that definitely goes over the edge. And
exactly.
That's where I would worry about somebody just purposely even trying to beat it up. And then there's the questions of legality. Honestly, we're not lawyers and we don't know. Based on each state, everything is, I don't know if it's legal. I want to say no, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
We're going to debate it.
All right.
So tonight's arcade debate segment, here, that's us right here, and we're going to get to this, obviously, but I'm going to do this. Is it okay to take a home arcade unit and modify it to be used in a commercial environment, Tim?
All
now,
right.
Obviously, we're not really debating the legality of this.
Right.
Per se.
It has to come into play somewhere.
It does come into play. We will talk about that, but really, just from what would you call this? Just from our perspective, is it okay to take a home arcade unit and modify it to be used in a commercial environment? So let's get back to where we were, Tim. Here, so we'll do our little reset real quick.
Before we reset, let me disclaim that I work for Mr. Gatti's, which is a separate store.
Correct.
It's like saying...
But they're franchises.
They're franchises, and we're no way connected with these guys.
Except in name.
I even had a hard time trying to get in touch with them. So, yeah, except in name only. I don't know them. We both...
You make the same pizza.
Yeah. Probably
but
so.
That's about the only thing you have in common.
We'll leave it at that. It's another franchise. We're a one-store franchise.
Right, exactly. But there are people who do more than one store too, or whatever the case may be. So, but your franchise is not affiliated with this franchise.
Right. They didn't call me and consult and ask me if they could do this.
Okay, there you go. Okay, well, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and reset here, and then we'll come right back. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the arcade debate segment for this evening. Now, Tim, tonight's arcade debate topic is a little bit different than maybe what we've done in the past because we just found out a news story that was kind of broke over the last couple of days here. And just to get everybody caught up to speed, we're going to go ahead and show this slide here, Tim. But basically, what happened is that somebody took an arcade 1-up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet and installed swipe card readers in it and put it out on location. And so, obviously, Tim, this is a little bit of a gray area, I guess you could say, when it comes to using like a home use only product inside of a commercial environment. So tonight's debate, What do you think, Tim? Is it okay to use a home use unit or product in a commercial environment? So we have an arcade 1-up designed as a home use product, right, for people to play at home, and somebody has modified that product to be played commercially. Is it okay to do that? Now, Tim, there may be some legal things going on here that we may not be aware of. We're not really sure how all that works. You can bring that into play a little bit, but just your personal opinion, is it okay for someone to take a home use only unit like this and use it in a commercial environment?
Well, since I run a similar style game room, I'll take that side and I'll say, sure it is. Why not? I have a pay for an operator's license. I pay my taxes. And if I pay taxes on it and I have the operator's license that says, my current operator's license says that I can repair games and do anything I want to with them. And so I can charge people for a lot of things. And so if I have the license and I'm a legal operator and all my taxes are paid up and we have the knowledge and know-how to be able to do this, why not? What's the difference in that and making or repairing an arcade game cabinet myself? What say you, John?
Well, here's the deal, Tim, is that arcade 1-up units were not made for commercial use, obviously. If you take them out of the box and you use them, they're made for home use. They're on free play. You just hit the start button. They work. This machine has been heavily modified in order to be used in a commercial environment, and that's kind of where I take, a little bit of a stance against this, is because taking something that was developed for a home use environment and putting it into an arcade, I think, for one, it's not made to withstand the rigors of a commercial environment, okay? I mean, and another thing is that, Tim, we talk about this a lot of times with, like, coffee makers. I mean, you can't just take your coffee maker from like, your house and use it up at your work a lot of times, right?
If my coffee maker at work breaks, I'm bringing the one from the house because you want coffee. Well, see, the problem is the games have gotten so expensive, I'm not making the money that I used to, so I have to make a profit. Sure, it might not last 6 months, but in that 6 months, I'll make 10 times what I would have made profit over the real expensive game.
Well, my point, Tim, is that in a commercial environment, there may be different safety standards. And so the question is that does a home use unit, even though it's been heavily modified, meet the same level of safety that a commercial unit would meet? And I would say no. One of the things you mentioned kind of in our lead up to this topic, Tim, was that you were worried about kids pushing down the control panel and it falling on somebody, right? Well, if that happened, obviously it's not a commercial unit. So would the people argue you were not using a commercial unit in your environment and therefore it was unsafe to operate in that environment?
We've all been to Walmart and Sam's and seen them sitting there on display. You think kids don't crawl on them on Walmart?
But they're free. They're play at your own risk, right? It's completely free. When you're charging for something, it's a little bit different. And like I said, when you're an establishment and you've got a home use product in your establishment, I think you're taking a lot of risk from a safety standpoint that you may not have with a commercial product that was made for commercial environments. So, I mean, from it, just even outside of the legal perspective of this, the safety standard, I think, is a little bit different because, again, not made for a commercial environment, made for a home use environment, which is totally different from a safety perspective.
Well, you know, back in the day, we had these labs open up all over town where you could go in and people couldn't afford Xbox or PlayStations, but they could go in and play for an hour. And those were home use, but they charge you for the time to play them. This is another way that people come in, they're paying for the time that they get to play it. They may decide they want to go buy one and have it in their home. This way they could actually afford it. They don't have to go, well, you have to have an operator's license or $4,000. For $400, you could own your own. This would be a great way for Arcade 1-Up to even sell more of them.
But the thing about it is that a lot of times they didn't modify that PlayStation from what it was originally. Here, whoever is operating this has modified this to be used in a way that was not intended by the original creator, the Arcade 1-Up people. It was not made it.
That's called pure genius and ingenuity.
Pure genius.
Yeah, you have to have some skills to make this thing work.
I call that Southern rigging is what I call it too. But, you know, it just depends. I think though, from a safety perspective, and Tim, I took a lot of safety classes in college, have a lot of familiarity with things like OSHA, and so I do think that, like I said, you're running a little bit of a risk here by operating something in a commercial environment that is not a commercial product. I'll give you the last word, though. Go ahead and finish this up.
Well, as an operator, we run a risk every day, but I understand what you're saying, Jonathan. I don't like the way that it's mounted and that there's a lot of problems I have with it. I think that I would have definitely checked it out. I'm also concerned about the legality of it. I don't know. You've got two over here. I've thought about it. I've never actually read them. Do they say for home use only?
Now, sometimes the logo, the Arcade 1-Up logo does have home arcade unit or something like that underneath it. But as far as the actual, like, wording and stuff, it's got a nice little placard on the back that has a lot of the instructions and things. We can read that placard here in a bit to see. But you got to remember that they're not selling them to go into arcades, Tim.
Well, a lot of arcades have an axe throwing arena. And, you know, it's set up for safety, but talk about something unsafe. You're not throwing axes at nobody. You're just playing a video game. Most people would be respectful. I think it'd be fine. But what say the audience? I'm curious of what other people think about it.
Yeah, so let us know your opinion on this. What do you think? Is it okay to modify a home use only unit and use it in a commercial environment? If you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter, then you can chime in the comment section or send us a reply to this message and let us know. Or if you're just watching this on YouTube, you can also let us know in the comment section below. Again, thank you for joining us for the arcade debate segment for this evening, and we'll see you next time. Okay, Tim.
Now,
that was good.
You know, the question, and of course, guys, you know, when we're arguing, we're just taking different sides. We both feel like it probably shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
We both looked at that and went like, oh my gosh, what are you thinking, you know? But at the same time, you know what I want to know? What does Arcade 1-Up think about it? What do they think? Are they going, oh, that's cool, somebody took one of our game, or are they going, what the heck?
And what does Raw Thrills think about it?
Right.
Who actually sells the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade
Yeah, that I have at my game room.
You actually have?
Right, so, and we paid a lot of money for it, and it definitely holds up to the abuse, and I'm like you, if somebody gets hurt, then how liable are you going to be? That's a tough call.
It really is. So
in chat in
I was
here.
about to say, YouTube Punk says the only new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game is Raw Thrills. Correct. Let's see. Yeah, the original game is being sold by Arcade 1-Up. Let's see. YouTube Punk says, guys, we're all friends here. Yeah, we're friends. We're friends. It's okay. Let's see. It's all fun and games until you squash a kid like IKEA. Yeah, well, Tim, we're going to talk about that in the after show. I watched a documentary on the IKEA dresser tip over stuff. Have you seen this? Like IKEA made dressers that tip over on kids when, you know, it doesn't have the right weight to ratio and stuff like that. Yeah, when one of these things tips over on a kid, yeah, you need to be careful.
Well,
you know
that's why
they come with anchor kits. I should mention that.
It's why it's a good thing. It's only 3 feet tall, right?
Right, exactly.
You have to hurt a baby.
They come with anchor kits, though. I mean, so you can anchor them to the wall if you need to.
I really thought it was pretty. Number one, we talked about it before. We said to make one coin up was possible. Right. We haven't done it yet, but somebody that actually did it and put a card reader on it, I thought was kind of cool. You know what? I would have had a little bit more respect if maybe that would have just been like the birthday room or something. You know, like its own little area, not out in the main arcade, or maybe you just had it for. I thought about we have one and just put it in there for free play.
Exactly.
And just let the kids who's having a birthday play it.
Yeah. Let's see.
It'd be interesting to see what it earns.
No Conspiracy, No Job says, I think you would need a commercial software license on that game. And we think so, too. That's why we think it's actually probably illegal. From a licensing standpoint.
I'm voting that. I'm wondering what the legalities are.
Yeah. I think it makes the operators look bad. Now, here's the deal. Do not contact this Pikeville, Kentucky location and cuss them out or say anything bad about them. Don't call them at all. Yeah. Okay, because, look, They did what they wanted to do. They'll live with the consequences of that.
I understand, though, from an operator standpoint, how stuff has gotten so expensive. If I can have a game and only invest it won't take long to make $400.
Exactly.
It may take me, I'm still probably paying for my Halo game.
And maybe your Turtles, too.
Yeah, maybe. It probably paid for itself over a year. But I bet it took the full year.
Right.
So, those are some things to look at.
Let's see what else we got here. I can't imagine 4-player cabs. Yeah, they have the 4-player cabs for the arcade 1-Ups. They're not bad. Seems like you bought the arcade, you're playing it legally, and it's not like you're streaming illegally on a ROM. And if you have a business license to charge for arcades, seems legal. That's from the Rexer Show.
It's a gray, like you said, a really gray area.
Yep. And
it may take a court case or something to decide, and they could change it. They may say, well, it's your place, do what you want to do.
Exactly.
But I would, something in my gut kind of says this is not right.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe it's not. And I doubt Arcade 1-Up is very thrilled about it.
I would imagine so. I mean, because in a way, it kind of undercuts their home use only argument and may prevent them from getting licensors in the future.
Right.
You know, if people are thinking they're going to put them out on route.
Now, would this have? Let me throw this question to the group and to you, John. Had they went about and made a little sturdier, more commercial unit, would you have a problem with it? Because I honestly think they have a market for that at Chuck E. Cheese.
Maybe.
I think because they're little.
Right.
And they're kid size. You know, there was a lot of games at Chuck E. Cheese that for a while there that we were buying these little cabinets, and they were getting them for like $800 or $900 out of China and stuff.
Sure.
And you know what? They didn't last very long, but gosh, do you know how many? It took 2 Saturdays and they paid for themselves.
Sure. Tim, Jack64 was in the chat while we were doing our debate, and we didn't get to his question. He said, "Hey guys, 2 of my cabs, WrestleMania and Sega Strike Fighter, made a terribly loud electrical buzzing noise when I turned on. There was a burnt smell in the air afterwards. I think I remember one of your videos mentioning a flyback issue, or could it be something else? Thanks for the show. You guys helped me take the leap into my new hobby."
Okay.
So, Tim, I mean, that's the thing about like that burnt smell, like we were talking about. Flyback is definitely possible, okay, but it could be anything.
Right.
Okay, it could be anything.
That's what I said I would do. I would unplug. If you can't find it, you have physically smelled without the game on, you've looked with a flashlight, you can't find anything burnt. The first thing I would do is unplug the board and the monitor and just see if it powers up. Like you got voltage, everything's good there. The next thing I would do would be to plug in the board and see if it plays blind.
Right.
Then at that point, you know it's something in my monitor. It probably is a flyback or something.
But here's the deal: he says he had 2 games. He says he has the 2 games, and it sounds like they were both doing it.
Yeah.
So that sounds like we got a power surge, maybe power supplies.
Yeah, maybe so.
Right, because I mean, you may.
That's why I would unplug everything else, because you don't want to do any damage.
Exactly.
But then read the power supply. They don't have any power. You got some kind of weird. If you lived in Texas, it's a hot day, or something. You get those power surges, and they can do a lot of damage.
Right. I mean, the fact that both of them are doing it, I wouldn't think flyback. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because I would think power supply.
Right.
I would think you got jacked.
That's where I would wonder, were they plugged into the same electrical outlet? These are questions I would ask, because maybe you got a bad grounding issue or something that caused that. You might have an electrician come and take a look at it, because it's very rare that something would zap 2 games unless you got hit by lightning.
I was about to say, or you got a huge power surge. I mean, It might not be lightning, could have been something else, but I mean, those are the things that can cause that. Jack says, "Sadly, all my repairs are on hold until I find a site that ships to Puerto Rico, I guess, for a reasonable price. Most sites that have great prices on parts just don't ship them here." And I can see that. It's just hard to get stuff over there.
It really is.
And so it's more about a charge that they incur for shipping it to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if they could ship it to you cheaper, they would. But the problem is that their shipping cost is expensive, and so therefore they have to pass it on to you.
Right.
And that's just unfortunate.
We've run into that shipping DVDs out overseas. Yep. Some of them are really expensive. Absolutely. Some are cheap.
Yep.
Some are like, wow, it's just like shipping to my neighbor, but others aren't.
I'm used to paying a bit extra for shipping, but some places, mostly FedEx users, have insane shipping costs. Yeah, and it just depends on the carrier, because some carriers ship to Puerto Rico for cheaper than others. So
and you might find out who your cheaper carrier is and ask them, look, I know you normally ship FedEx. Would you mind shipping this one UPS because it's a lot cheaper, or US mail?
Yeah, USPS. So, absolutely.
USPS is usually cheapest international, from what I found.
Jack says, "My main issue with 1-Up cabs is that 2 adults just don't fit side by side. Can't imagine 4-player cabs. It's not bad. I played 2 adults sitting side by side on the Street Fighter. Tim, you haven't been here since I put together Street Fighter 2.
Oh, I didn't
know. So I have
that.
a Street Fighter 2 one. I put it together, and you weren't here.
Wow.
Or it wasn't together last time you were here. And it's
Good
over
job.
there. And I've got the plexiglass covers on them, too, you'll notice.
I did notice that.
So, but the Street Fighter plays pretty decently for what I paid for it, and you can get 2 people side by side sitting on little like cocktail style stools pretty easily.
I like your stool.
Yeah, so there you go. It's not as bad as you think, I promise. So let's see. Okay, what's the actual legality? And Tim, this is a great question. This is from Michael Bloom. What's the actual legality of a 60-in-1 hooked up to a coin mech? I've just seen a lot, and I just wondered. Technically illegal.
Right.
So, as you might know, we have a relationship with Holland Computers, who used to sell the 60-in-1 boards. Holland Computers is a supplier for Namco. And when Namco found out they were selling the 60-in-1 boards, Namco told them to stop. Because it is, I mean, again, unlicensed. Which means Namco does not license any of the games on the 60-in-1 board. Therefore, it is illegal. So it is illegal to have one out on route. But that doesn't stop people from doing it.
We could say this, that we said the word PACMAN.
Yeah, exactly.
On a video. And we were contacted and asked to take it out and just say classic game or something, because we did not have the right to put that in our video.
Right. It was for a specific a mod or repair or something, and we took it out. And so things like that happen because of licensing.
But we thought it was cool because we got to talk to somebody from Namco.
There you go. So things like that happen though, guys, and I mean, we're not the rights holders, and the 60-in-1 is an illegal board, and so technically you should not have them out on route. Are they out on route?
Yes.
And
they come after you. If they come after you one day, you can,
Namco has prosecuted companies for selling multi-game 60-in-1 cabinets.
Right.
Not many, but
I haven't heard of them going after anybody having one on route.
Correct. They've gone after sellers.
I think that would come... Especially if you bought it at auction or something, you could always play stupid.
Right.
I don't know. I bought it. Or
exactly.
I bought it I thought it was legal. I bought it.
Right.
It came on there. Well, they didn't tell me it was illegal.
Exactly.
You could always kind of play the stupid.
But when you're an operator, it's kind of hard to play the stupid card.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, let's see what else we have here. Josh B., I always assumed I fell into the camp of it's only legal if someone bothers to sue you. That's basically what it falls into. So if somebody bothers to sue you. Namco has gone after multi-cade builders who have used 60-in-1s.
I wouldn't surprise me if it was somebody big like Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's or somebody big like that they probably would tell them to take it out.
Yeah, but they don't do that. Big operators don't do that.
Yeah, right.
They buy games legally.
Yeah.
So
in fact, we talked about building one, and I said, it's just not legal. We're going to have to get a legal board.
Exactly. So you have to get...
I wouldn't mind building a game. It's just going to have a legal board in it.
So there's a lot of the legal Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man 20th anniversary boards floating around. You can get those. They're more expensive than a 60-in-1 board because they're fully licensed. So, but, and Tim, you have the Pac-Man Party or Pac-Man Pixel Bash. Those are actual boards that Namco makes. The problem is that Namco won't just sell you the board.
Right.
And they want you to buy the whole cabinet. And so, in a way, they're kind of creating the problem, in my opinion. If you don't want people using the 60-in-1 board, sell a viable alternative. I'm not saying that viable alternative has to be cheap.
Right.
I'm just saying offer up a board for sale. Even if it's a $400 board, you can say, look, we have a board out there that's available as an alternative to the 60-in-1. It's $400, and you can pay that, or you can fork over a huge fee when we sue you.
Well, that's always been my argument. Let's say I have a 57 Chevy and I reproduce the hood ornament, and Chevy comes after me and says, you don't have the rights to do that. And I say, okay, I take it off. I would like to purchase one, please. And they go, well, we don't have any of those in stock anymore or for sale. I'm like, okay, well, then I'm putting mine back on there. Exactly. Unless you can offer it for sale, you can't really complain that I'm building it.
And offering a full cabinet to me is not the same as offering just the board.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people who have just cabinets that would love to have a fully licensed board.
When in the past you can prove that they've sold millions of boards.
Exactly. So
until recently.
Jason says you have to own an original PCB if you use an emulator, 60-in-1 set to one game in a cab on location. That is correct. So you can technically use a 60-in-1 board as long as you have the PCBs for each game.
Say your PCB goes out. We used the same justification a long time ago. We did have a 4-in-1 on route, but we had all 4 PCBs.
Correct.
So it was like if anybody, and nobody ever complained or anything, but we thought if anybody ever said anything, it was the fact that we had 4 busted PCBs that didn't work, so that's why we didn't have a Galaga, or we didn't have a Pac-Man in there, or we didn't have a Donkey Kong. But at the same time, that was our justification. We do have all 4 boards.
Exactly. So if you have the boards, it is technically legal in a way for you to do that.
And that was many years ago.
Right.
Many.
But for the most part, we know that the vast majority of people buying 60-in-1 boards do not have the PCBs that they're using. So.
Notice I said 4-in-1, if that tells you how long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That dated it right there.
Okay, let us continue with the rest of the discussion here, Tim. And the next little news item we have here is Ready Guest One. Atari-themed hotel deal punctuates the gaming pioneer's turnaround.
Yeah.
Fortune is reporting that Atari has signed a partnership that will result in several Atari-themed hotels being built around the United States. The video game-themed hotels will level up hotel entertainment with immersive experiences for every age and gaming ability, and will feature the latest in virtual augmented reality. You like my radio announcer voice there? Atari said, the Phoenix Hotel is expected to open in 2 years. More locations are planned for Chicago, Denver, Seattle, San Francisco, San Jose, and Austin. Excuse me. So, Tim, what do you think about the Atari-themed hotels?
I thought, first I told my wife, hold off on the honeymoon, or the 10-year anniversary honeymoon. When it gets built, I would love to go. I definitely would want to stay in one if possible, but the fact that it's going to be a lot of newer games, a lot of virtual reality, but hopefully there'll still be some memorabilia and shouts out to the past. So, I'm excited a little bit about it, but then also going, but then if it's going to have to meet what I would want to see, or I'm not going to be interested. So till they build one and we can actually see inside one, just like eating at the Hard Rock Cafe, I always love to go.
Sure.
Because a lot of memorabilia and stuff on the walls and things. I'm like, oh, that was Mick Jagger's guitar, or that was in this movie, or whatever. I think that would be cool if they kind of decorate and do it like that. I don't have a problem with the newer stuff. When you think of Atari, and the picture is cool, and so I think it's a great idea. I think that there's a lot of people that would visit that. And
now I'll put it back up here.
How cool would it be to have a gaming convention in that?
Sure, and maybe that's what their whole thought is. There's been a lot of gaming conventions kind of start up recently, and maybe this is what these hotels will be designed for, is something like that. But I think it's cool too. I'm just worried. It just doesn't seem like Atari's done anything good in the last 20 years for the most part, except for lend their name to stuff.
Or saying they're going to do something and then not going through with it. Just saying.
Nothing in particular.
Nothing in particular. But maybe, there are a lot of talk and not much action. So that's why I said I'm going to have to wait and see it built, see what it looks like then. But you know for a fact that if we were in town, we had the choice, and it was comparable to another hotel, we definitely would want to stay there.
Absolutely. So it is cool. I like it. It's neat. So there you go. Michael Bloom says that will exist before the VCS.
Yes.
And he's probably correct. So. Okay, Tim, now our last news item here is the iiRcade. Now, Tim, during CES, last live show we covered the announcements from Arcade 1-Up and from Toy Shock and these other companies, and we want to thank the Rexer Show again for getting us all those great pictures. But one of the things we kind of skipped out on was the iiRcade. So the iiRcade is a retro cabinet for modern games and classics alike. And Tim, this is kind of similar to the Arcade 1-Up. In fact, I think it's even a similar size to the Arcade 1-Up. The difference is that this is going to run an Android operating system with an app store.
Okay.
So you'll be able to download games. Because, not everybody has room for, 4 or 5 Arcade 1-Ups even. But if you could buy one cabinet, buy the games on their store, then you could have one cabinet that had multiple games you wanted to play. Right, exactly. My 12-in-1's nice, but it doesn't play everything I want to play, right? And so that's what it comes down to.
You bought it because it had about 4 games, and then you're like, then it's like, okay, I grew up in the 80s, I never even heard of this game.
Well, I was about to say, you and me have played a lot of these, but Quantum, I love Quantum, but it is almost unplayable on that trackball. Just saying. Right. I love Quantum.
Right.
It's great, but on that trackball, it doesn't work very well. So, and you remember Quantum, Tim.
Yes.
It's a tough game to play anyway, but you really have to have a nice trackball to play Quantum, and it just doesn't play very well in there. But anyway, that's getting off topic. Another home arcade cabinet that was debuted at CES this year is called the iiRcade. The iiRcade is an arcade cabinet with an app store that you can use to buy and download fully licensed games. It runs a version of Android that's been optimized for gaming. The cabinet will be similarly sized to the Arcade 1-Up 3/4 scale cabinets and will have optional stand that you can purchase to put it near the height of a full-size game. Pricing has not been announced at this time, but you can visit their website at iiRcade.com.
We should go to their website and say, look, if you'll commercial these to use, I can guarantee you can get it in Chuck E. Cheese.
There you go, maybe.
Maybe that's all it would take, because if you're buying the games off the line, you have to purchase the games that you want.
Sure.
make it a commercial playable unit. Maybe we have a good idea for them.
Again, though, we don't know if the license deals that they're cutting right now are for commercial use. We know that they've got a license. The iiRcade people already said they have a license for Double Dragon. That's like one of the first games they've licensed, but they haven't really licensed anything outside of that at this point. So we don't know if they're going what they're going to do. But Tim, the thing is that when they're approaching these companies about licensing, a lot of times they're saying, this is a home use product,
right?
And so, a lot of times when a company knows it's a commercial product, the license goes up. Mm-hmm. And so that is something. If they were going to do that, I think they'd have to negotiate a commercial license.
And maybe they should look into that.
Maybe so. Anyway, let us know what your thoughts are about Atari Hotels and the iiRcade or anything like that. We'd love to hear your input either in the comment section or if you're in the live chat tonight, you're more than welcome to put it there as well. Tim, kind of slow news month as a whole in January, and I think just because we're coming off CES, we already kind of covered all the exciting stuff coming out this year, and so this is kind of the leftover from what we had in CES. But still, not bad. We had some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
So now Josh says, this is a neat concept, and I wouldn't rule out ever buying one, but I just really like that looming enclosed feel of an old full-size cab. And I think most people do. The problem is that not everybody has the space for a full-size cabinet. Now, Tim, we have space here, but not everybody has the amount of space that we have. And so
I would be one in particular. I used to have a shop bigger than this when we had full of games. Now I'm very limited on my space. That'll change eventually, but right now I don't have a lot of space, so it might be ideal for my situation.
Absolutely. So Michael Bloom says, love my Killer Instinct 2 turn main cabinet, blows the one up and similars out of the water, no comparison. The thing is that you have to have technical knowledge in order to set that type of system up, and a lot of people don't. The arcade one-up fills a huge void for people who are not technically savvy enough to try to build their main cabinet or just don't have the time to do it. Because building a really nice MAME setup takes some time. It really does. It takes a little bit of time. So an arcade one-up cuts the time. You build it, it's done, and it works. And it works really good.
Agreed.
There's no, like I said, I think for what it is, it's hard to beat it. Michael Bloom says, plus I got way less money in it. I got the cab for $20. Well, there you go. Well, if you can find a $20 cab, then that's a good deal too. So, But I think arcade one-ups obviously have a market, Tim, at this point. The question is that all the other things that are coming up, do they have a market? That's really what it comes down to. And are y'all okay? Jason is asking, are we still going to TPF this year? We'll see.
Yeah.
So it really depends. Tim's work schedule is kind of crazy, and so is my schedule usually. And so if we go, we'll probably just go for Saturday. So we'll go early in the morning on Saturday. We'll come back late that night. Just make it a one-day thing. But we may not. I think my wife may have something to do that Saturday, so it may just depend on how that all shakes out. But we're going to try. We really want to go to TPF and play some of the new stuff. Stranger Things is on the list.
Definitely do a time to go.
Absolutely. No conspiracy, no jobs. Consumer license versus commercial license. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. We don't know how these companies like Arcade One Up are licensing these games, if they're being licensed for commercial use, but we'd imagine it's not.
Right, and they may not care what you do with it as long as you bought it.
Sure.
But at the same time, the people that sell them the license, when they find out they're going in arcades, may turn around and tell them, look, if you don't say something to them, we're going to up your license fee.
Right. Okay, Tim, so I think we're caught up now. We have one more story here that I want to bring up. And Tim, this didn't get a lot of play on Facebook, but man, Twitter, this blew up. Okay, we probably got, 30 or 40 retweets on this and 80 likes on Twitter, which is high for us. And it's a story that's really pretty cool. These pinball wizards learn career skills by fixing arcade games as part of Henry County Career Academy program. And this is from the Martinsville Bulletin. The high school students in Henry County, Virginia are learning how to repair and restore classic arcade games thanks to an electronics class that teaches real-world career skills. The school spokesperson, Monica Hatchett, said they could learn these skills on circuit boards, but this is a lot more fun. And Tim, I don't know if she knew, what she said there kind of doesn't make sense. These are circuit boards. Maybe she meant test boards or something, but anyway. Class teacher Jerry Bird agreed. The video game repair covers a lot of competencies in a creative way. It sparks the students' interest, he said. So, Tim, this is really cool. An actual school offering arcade repair as a vocational program.
And I'm thinking class teacher Jerry Bird getting a lot of his games fixed for free.
That's right. So
Or
apparently,
he doesn't have time. He's
so apparently what he does is he buys the games, they fix them, they sell them, and the money goes back into the program.
We have a school here in Tyler that I pitched that idea for, and they loved it. They would really love to build like a 60-1 or something and then raffle it off.
Sure.
And that's still probably eventually will happen.
But I think he's right in that people don't realize how many competencies go into building an arcade cabinet. Cabinetry, woodworking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, painting, right? You got to paint the cabinets. But along with that, not just cabinet building, but circuit boards, board repair, wiring,
electrical.
exactly, electrical. So, I mean, and then like when you're building the cabinet, you got to route it, put the T-molding on it, right?
The artwork,
the
stickers,
artwork,
the
exactly.
lighting, yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many different competencies that go into arcade building and repair that it really makes you a very well-rounded, what would you say, builder, if you will, to have all these skills. Because working with circuit boards, Tim, that helps you in HVAC repair, for instance, right? Doing cabinetry helps with actual woodworking things. So if you're building cabinets for a company, or if you're like let's say kitchen cabinets, you see, so the same things that you'd use to build a table or something else, just same kind of skills that you'd use in arcade repair to build a cabinet. And so it kind of helps you in a lot of different areas working with arcade games, not just electrical like people
A couple
think.
years ago, I was on a job interview, and it was to fix commercial printers. A lot of them have a video screen, a lot of stuff. And he goes, well, I don't know how arcade repair and maintenance would convert over. And I said, well, let me tell you something. I know how to do this, this, and this, and this. We do circuit board repairs. If that monitor goes out, we fix it. We don't just throw it out.
Sure.
And he was very impressed. He was like, wow, that really, you could do a lot of stuff with that. He said, there's probably nothing in this job that you haven't done yet. And
Right.
I'm like, yeah, so it really does help. So the more you watch, the more you know, the better off you will be. But if nothing else, it'll give you the confidence to try a lot of things at home and fix and replace lights. And when ballasts go out, you learn how to do that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So it gives you a lot of different skills in a lot of different areas. And the Rexer Show agrees. He says, great point, guys. A lot of facets involved in building. Most people have one or two, but can't do them all. Exactly. So some people may have cabinetry. They're really good woodworkers. They can do all the woodworking. Some people may have electrical. They can do all the wiring. They can do all the circuit board repair. But you really have to have both to build a cabinet.
Yeah, you don't know how many, everybody's been watching the live show for a while. Guys will start off, I'm really good at I'm an electrician, but I have no idea how to do this.
Circuit board repair.
Right. Or I'm very good at this part, or carpentry and stuff, but I have no idea. It was kind of how we met, Jonathan. I was really good at the hardware end, but I couldn't do the software end.
Sure.
And so we have learned and taught each other a lot through that.
Absolutely.
Over the years.
Eric says, I enjoyed the live shows and remember the electrical build cost on the arcade cabinet video from Tim. That video was very informative. To a lot of folks. Thank you, sir. So remember when we broke down the electrical usage of an arcade game?
Yeah, because a lot of people were in fear that if I have all these games, my electric bill is going to triple.
Right.
And what we proved was it's not that expensive, and you're not running them 16 hours a day.
Right.
But they don't really pull a lot of amps anyway. So, and about how much you could have on each one. So that's been a long time ago since we shot that video. So thank you for mentioning that. It's always a fun video when I go back and look at it or think about it.
Well, you see, and here's the thing, Tim, is that one of the most inefficient things you can do with electricity is heat, which is
Right.
why toasters and hair dryers
Microwaves.
take up way more than arcade games, right?
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that whenever they do it. Vacuum cleaners, for instance, also pull a lot of amps, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so anything that you turn on and your lights dim pulls a lot of amps, right?
When we were in Europe, we kept having to buy adapters, right? And every time my wife would go to dry her hair, it would blow it. It would just fry it. And she's like, what's the deal? I said, well, you're pulling so many amps. Ours are probably higher amps. So we ended up having to buy a European hair dryer that would just plug in because it was a lot less amps. And even with the adapters, and the adapters were rated pretty high, they would do great for like charging cell phones and converting stuff like that. But every time she plugged her hair dryer in, we went through 3 of them like that, just smoke. Oh, it was awful.
Right. So heat is always the most inefficient use of electricity, and so those things will pull way more than arcade cabinets. Arcade cabinets, basically just a TV. There's really not a whole lot more to it than that. You got a circuit board in there, but how many amps does a little power supply in a circuit board? take hardly any.
Most power supplies are 15, 10 amps.
Exactly.
So that's why there's not
and they're not pulling that.
Nowhere near that.
No, exactly. They're not pulling that because of the demand.
About 2 or 3. That's what we proved in the video.
Exactly. So Josh says, that's what it's all about. Learning new things, refining skills, and leveling up, and playing a lot of games. Why? What do we say here at Arcade Repair Tips?
Fix the game.
Fix the game. You play the game. So you got to play it.
All right.
So that's the whole point of fixing it. People forget. Danny says, I'm good at everything on an arcade, but circuit board repair, but want to get better at that. Circuit board repair is tough because you really need to have the right equipment for that. You need an oscilloscope really to do most board level repairs. Now you can do a lot of stuff with a logic probe, Tim, and I know we've talked forever about doing a video on a logic probe. We probably need to do that. You can do a lot of stuff with a logic probe and just going through and making sure. And we talked about loose solder joints, cold solder joints causing a lot of problems on games.
A lot of it's just practice too. Like I said, going to a yard sale, buying an old VCR or old something, taking it apart and just practicing it on a 50-cent board or something you don't care about until you get good at it.
Exactly. So it takes a lot of time to get good at it. People who are good at it though, I'm gonna throw a shout out to Raymond at arcadecomponents.com. Raymond has a lot of videos that you can watch that talk about some of the things that he does. He will also do a beginner oscilloscope class for people in the Dallas area sometimes, where he'll kind of walk you through how to use one. So there's a lot of great resources out there. If you have a college that offers a digital systems class or electronics class, highly recommend that. It's a great way to get started. There's also several books we have on our website about introduction to electronics that will help you a lot with that as well. So if you're more of a book learner, you can do that. If you're a hands-on learner, look up a vocational program at a local college. I know that our junior college here does offer some of those classes in just basic board level repair. And so if you're into that, maybe a way to go about it. So there you go. Let's see. I think we're caught up.
Okay.
And I think we're done. So let us go ahead and throw a reminder. Now, Tim, I should say that I'm going to say this reminder here, but Paul Duray actually threw a video, and I didn't get it into the live show outline. I just totally forgot about it. But guys, if you're not watching Paul's videos, what Paul does is he fixes monitors. Mm-hmm. And what he does for every single person who sends him a chassis is he films the repair.
Wow.
So you know exactly what Paul fixed on your chassis. Okay?
That's awesome.
So if you're not checking out his videos, you should be going and viewing them, because he has the model and what it is doing. That is the description of the video. His videos are awesome. You should be checking them out. I did not get the video that he sent. I appreciate you letting us know that we could use it, and I didn't get it on here. But you should check out Paul Dray's videos. I'm going to put a link down in the show description here in a little bit so you guys can check those out. But he's got some excellent monitor repair videos. If you're looking at monitor repair, you definitely need to check out his videos. But let me go ahead, Tim, and get this out of the way real quick. We do want your arcade-related videos. So if you want some free advertising for your YouTube channel, we're always looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. Send a link of your video to questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure you put a plug-in for your channel so that people will know where to find you. We look forward to your submissions. So, great stuff there, Tim, as always. Like I said, Paul sent in his, Paul Duray, sent in his video, and we didn't get on the outline, but you should check out his channel anyway, and we'll link to it in the show description here. And I didn't put the links up for this episode, Tim. Kind of got behind.
Okay.
But I will be putting those up shortly, so when we do, you'll find it there. And then, Tim, of course, we have our contact information. Tim, I think everybody knows by now, but we'll throw it back out here. To get in touch with us, best way is questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Send us an email, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you put live show in the subject, you'll get it mentioned on the show. And Tim, we just kind of pick questions, just the ones that we get every month from the big list. And sometimes we email them back. Sometimes we cover them on the show. So, just because your question didn't make it on the show doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't answered or whatever the case may be. So, again, questions@arcaderepairtips.com to send a message to us. We also have our YouTube page, which you're on right now, unless you're listening to this on the podcast. But you can find our YouTube page at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. And comments and follow-ups from the last live show will be covered on the next episode. Tim, we had 2 follow-ups on this one from people who sent us in questions last time, and it's always good to get those in there. So you will see comments and follow-ups from the last live show on the next episode. Again, youtube.arcaderepairtips.com for that. And then we have our podcast email, Tim, and we should mention that we still have the podcast going. And I haven't talked to Eric. I've been so busy. He tried to call me the other day, and I sent him back a message on Facebook. But it sounds like they're going to be doing a question answer podcast at some point in the future. So when they do, we'll update you guys. We'll let you know. But again, that's Eric and Rusty who do that podcast, Tim. And you can send them a message at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com, podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. And you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com and Stitcher at stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, we're also on Spotify, so you can find us at arcaderepairtips.com. Do a search on Spotify. You'll find us there. Tim, somebody left a review on the iTunes page, a very nice 5-star review for the podcast this month. So we want to throw a shout out to whoever that was. I can't remember the username at the moment, but thank you for leaving a great review. And if you enjoy what you're listening to on this podcast, if you're listening to it that way, make sure you leave a review there and let us know. And then we have our social media pages. We have our Facebook page at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com. And we want to thank Mark and Louie for the wonderful work that they do there, posting all sorts of great information. And, obviously, Tim, all that stuff also gets posted on our Twitter feed, and that's at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. And like I mentioned, Tim, it's weird because sometimes things they'll catch fire on the Twitter page and not on the YouTube page or vice versa. And so it's nice that we have it kind of cross-posted because, it seems like it's different audiences in both places. So you never know who's going to pick up on which one's going to be more popular for a particular story or whatever the case may be. But again, facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and twitter.arcaderepairtips.com, and you can check out our social media pages. Highly recommend that, so that way you can keep in touch with us between shows. So, Tim, I think that about does it for the live show. We're about to come up to the after show. For those of you guys who are listening on the podcast, if you want to view the after show, you'll need to go to YouTube to view that. But, Tim, the after show is basically an anything goes show where we talk about all sorts of different things. And what do we have for the after show on this episode?
Well, we're going to talk about a football game that happened last week.
Was there a football game?
There was a football game.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least I know there was a burlesque show during the halftime.
Oh, okay. I understand. Oh, that's right. Okay, I do remember now when you say it like that.
So we're talking about some shows and TV shows and movies that we've been watching, and who knows what else.
Exactly. We'll just throw it all out there. Now, arcade questions.
We'll also be answering more questions.
I was about to say, arcade questions are always welcome during the after show as well, but it's more of an anything goes topically type of show. So if you're listening to this on the podcast and you want to check that out, make sure you check out the live stream on YouTube for this episode to hear more about that. And I think that we're done. So we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and for being here for the live show. We want to thank all the people who made donations tonight, Tim. We want to thank YouTube Punk and Josh, and we also want to thank, let's see, I got to go back through my little thing here just to make sure we get everybody. Wasteland Warrior, right? Wasteland Warrior, Josh, and YouTube Punk. Thank you guys so much for the donations tonight. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys all for being here. That's awesome. We love having you guys here, and as always, it's just a pleasure and just our great what am I trying to say here, Tim? Just a great feeling to have you guys all here.
It's a privilege.
Exactly, it's a privilege. So, but we want to thank you guys again for watching tonight, and I think at this point we're going to go ahead and go off, and we'll see you in the after show if you stay tuned. But if not, thank you for joining us. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game, you play the game. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the after show, or we'll see you for the live show next month. Thanks again.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
Okay, and we're back. Okay, so and my daughter's in here, so she's hanging out with us. She likes to hang out during the after show. Let's see what we got here.
Some questions?
Yeah, Danny said, I have a trophy hunting arcade. Everything is there but the monitor chassis or the monitor board. Any suggestions? And YouTube Punk mentioned a universal chassis.
Yeah.
Which is, a great way to start. If you don't have a chassis, it's a great chassis. It's better than nothing, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's a great way to go. Yeah, if you don't have a chassis for it, universal chassis, it's not the best chassis, but it works in most cases. So, let's see. Seahorses at Night says, Chiefs Nation, feel the heat. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Right. Let's see. Is there a brand that you recommend, or they're all the same? They're all the same. That Universal, there's no, I forget what brand they are technically.
Yeah, they're overseas. We don't really know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not exactly sure which brand. Generic China. Yeah. Whatever it is. Sometimes they work really well. Sometimes they don't. I'm going to scroll.
Could probably buy them on Wish.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. They're supposed to have universal, but verify compatibility. I have a spare monitors. Just was trying to make the most of the tube I had in it. Do you know the chassis model? So in other words, you have to identify what should have been there to begin with. Not necessarily. You just have to know what the tube resistance is.
Right.
If you know what the tube or the yoke resistance. If you know what the yoke resistance is, then you're fine. Let's see. There's a technique to get the readings from the yoke. Yeah, if you we have it in some of our stuff. It's from what's that website, Tim, that we used to have? 8liners.
8liners.com.
And we actually linked to the 8liners is no longer there, but you can find it on the
somebody archived it.
Right, you can find it on the archive. So let's see. Yeah, so there you go. Using a multimeter, you can there's 8liners posts that you can do and you can find it. So okay, I think we're caught up. Okay, Tim. So you just want to start into Super Bowl since we kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
Now you put your jacket on because you're cold. It's kind of cold in the game room. The game room is cold in the winter, hot in the summer, Tim.
Yeah. Well, it's what it is, right?
Exactly. It's a converted garage, so it doesn't have very good heating and cooling in here, unfortunately. So, but anyway. So what'd you think of Super Bowl?
I thought it was a really good game. It was interesting, fun to watch. I mean,
it's exciting.
It helped, though. I think that for those of you who don't know, Jonathan actually went to the same high school as Patrick Mahomes.
That's right. Different year graduated, though.
So all of East Texas kind of claims him as a son. If you watch him enough, he always shouts out back to his high school friends, his hometown, his coach, and stuff like that. So even over the last couple of years, most people around here are either Cowboys or Saints fans, or hardly any Chiefs fans. But once he was drafted and played for the Chiefs, a lot of people here, in fact, every week when I was at the restaurant, somebody'd say, we'd have the Cowboys game, they'd say, can you put the Chiefs game on too? Because everybody wanted to watch him, and he is exciting to watch.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's MVP, and he played a great game. But he's also a very good person. I heard a story the other day where him and his wife went out to eat, and his girlfriend, longtime girlfriend,
right,
who went to high school with him also from
Didn't
here.
know that? Wow.
Yeah, they have been dating since like the 10th grade.
Wow.
And they went out to eat, and I'm pretty sure this is a news source where it's true. And everybody left him alone. They didn't bug him for autographs. They just had a nice dinner. And when he turned around to leave, he said, "Thank you, everybody, for just giving me some time to go on a date. I've already talked to the manager. All meals in here are on me."
Wow.
And walked out. That's the kind of guy he is. I know because he's given a lot of money back to your home school.
Yep.
And stuff. So anyway, we were really rooting for him to win, I guess. And if you like the Cowboys, you can't like the 49ers. It's kind of a rule. So we could anybody but the 49ers, unless maybe they're playing the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we probably would have rooted for the 49ers or just hope they would both lose somehow. But so we were really rooting for the Chiefs, and I thought it was good. I mean, the comeback was great. It was kind of like they just never get rattled. Nope. It's like, oh, we're behind. A lot of people here are like the Texans. You see what they did to them. You know? And so. But to me, it was really about Andy Reid. I've always liked him. Even as a Cowboys fan, you almost hated to see him over there in that, because he was just such a nice guy. Mm-hmm. He seemed like he could get tough and get in your face if he needed to, but most of the time he just seemed like this kind of Papa Bear guy that just, and he just handled everything. And when he coached all around the league and many Super Bowl wins, and I think he coached for Green Bay and for other people, and he never won the game. And so, to me, seeing him win that, you kind of feel like Patrick Mahomes may be there a couple more times.
Oh, yeah.
But you know that the time was ticking on Andy Reid, and for him to get a Super Bowl win, I thought was just awesome.
Absolutely.
So how'd you feel when you were watching it?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't get to... I watched it kind of in bits and pieces just as, we were playing with kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I watched most of the end, and, I was rooting for Patrick Mahomes all the way. And, because like you said, can't root for the 49ers anyway.
Right.
But obviously him being from here makes a lot. And, yeah, we obviously have a lot of friends that are familiar and stuff like that. So,
Oh, it was crazy just driving through White House. That town shut down for the Super Bowl. All the buildings were decorated and a lot of stuff. So we had everybody was wearing red and yellow and supporting the Chiefs. So that was interesting to watch. But, I will say something a little on the controversial side, though, is I don't know that I would have, if I would have had the opportunity, I don't know that I would have voted him MVP.
Oh, really? Well, I can see that.
I'm just saying
hang on, I'm getting news here.
Okay.
you can keep talking.
I'm just saying that there were some, the running back that made 2 touchdowns at the end. He played a good game, and he definitely made a difference, but I guess I don't know who else you would have voted for.
Exactly, that was.
But it wasn't really MVP type numbers. It wasn't
Agreed.
like he just was lights out all night. You couldn't
In
stop
fact,
him.
He was pretty mediocre up until the end. But the end.
But that's when it matters,
exactly,
right?
when it mattered.
I was going to just throw that out there that I don't know that I would have voted for him MVP. But at the same time, he definitely deserved it just as much as anybody else. So I give him that much.
Absolutely. So Olivia wants me to tell everybody she's got some friends coming over tomorrow. She's very excited.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. But
y'all gonna have to play some arcade games.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Those are her friends. So they're gonna be coming over tomorrow. But yeah, I was the same way. I was obviously rooting for Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I'm glad they pulled it out. Seahorses at Night says the Chiefs usually let me down, not grotesquely and undeniably like Billy Mitchell, but pretty bad. Finally, Super Bowl champs. Woohoo! So there you go. So let's see. Let's see. Russell is asking some more questions here. He's saying, hey, if you try to adjust a yoke to get a picture to fill the screen, after adjustments are the best way are the best they can do. Recommended wearing gloves to avoid getting shocks. Never mess with the yoke, so it's a little intimidating. It's not bad. So you can mess with it. It's really not that bad. Wear rubber gloves. Be always on the safe side, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, yeah, so I liked it. What did you think of the commercials? Were there any commercials that really piqued your interest? The halftime show, if you want to go there as well.
Okay, we'll talk about that. Most of the commercials I was kind of like, I thought they were average. I did like the way they brought the ball into the field.
Yeah,
the
with
little
the kids.
kid. That was awesome. I thought that was probably one of my favorites. The guy who played Aquaman, I'm
Jason
drawing a blank. I kind of like
Yeah,
that
his
commercial.
commercial was good.
Even though it was a little weird and it made me a little cringe a little bit, I thought that commercial was good. A lot of them, you ever feel like that you like the commercial, but then you're like, I don't even know what it was about, though.
Yes.
Did it really make me want to go and buy or purchase a product? Was there any that you watched and you went, oh, well, I think I would like that because of the commercial?
Not really, but my favorite one was the Groundhog Day, the Jeep commercial.
The Groundhog Day, yeah.
So the Groundhog Day one was good. My second favorite was probably the Lil Nas X Doritos commercial.
Yes.
Okay, so those were the two that I liked the most. The rest of them were just kind of... the Tide one was terrible.
I've been saying it kept going, it kept getting on my nerves, and it just got worse.
Yeah, it only got worse.
I was just like, it only got worse, and I was just like, oh, man.
Still here.
Yeah, it's like...
Sorry. Not good at all. Did not like the Tide one. Seahorses at Night said he liked the Groundhog Day one. It was the best one by far.
I forgot about that one, and I don't know why, but that one probably was my favorite, too.
It was
just,
best.
yeah.
There's no
because it was on Groundhog Day.
Exactly.
That's what made it all just kind of, it was a perfect commercial for that.
Okay, hey, watch
and
out.
Bill Murray just funny.
Exactly,
So,
but man, you can tell like he's aged quite a bit, right? Since Groundhog Day.
He actually looks like he did in Scrooge when he was wearing makeup for Scrooge.
Exactly.
You know, so.
But I still like that commercial the best. Halftime show.
You know, I guess this was the deal. So I was at a party with a bunch of people I didn't know. Some of them I knew, but I didn't know I knew them. You know, it's kind of like I hadn't seen them in a long time. And it was like all the women were laughing because at the halftime, all the guys were watching the halftime show, and all the women were just over there going, "Really? Y'all really?" I was, number one, I thought for their age, Shakira and J-Lo looked great. But at the same time, you know, it's kind of like, and I know they always kind of push the envelope a little bit, but you wonder why. I went back the other day and was looking up Super Bowl halftime commercials, and I went back and watched the one before Prince died, and Prince did. I was like, oh, that was awesome. I mean, I was just like, watching it again, I was just, and it rained. It was like perfect. Oh, and even some of them that Madonna did back in the day, I don't know. I guess the older you get, the more you appreciate just some of the previous ones. But then it was just like, I don't know. I could have some opinions I can't say right now, but at the same time, you know, just a little, you know, if that's what I wanted to watch, I'd get me a handful of dollar bills and we'd go watch it. But, you know,
I don't know if it wasn't that bad to me. I only saw maybe a max of 5 minutes of it because I was chasing kids around doing other things. It was, their outfits were skimpy. I mean, the movement was a little risque and everything, but it's that one. The
pole dancing just kind of made it kind of like, what are you trying to do? I don't know. Now, there's obviously some athleticism to be able to do that,
Absolutely.
And at 50 years old, same age as me, I'm like, I couldn't even slide down the pole, you know. And so, I don't know. I was like, you know, but it's kind of like what I expected, and I don't know that I've come to. It's like every year they have to one up somebody else, you know. So I don't know.
I'm gonna get this. She has her 100th day of school tomorrow. My daughter, and she made this beads. Got 100 beads on it.
Daddy.
That's awesome.
There you go. Yes.
I'm gonna be the helper tomorrow.
Oh, you're gonna be the helper tomorrow. That's really good. I'm glad to hear it.
Wow.
That's big. That's big news. Now you need to put that somewhere safe. Maybe put it in your backpack or get mommy to tie it off for you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Tim, Russell just sent $10.
Oh, thank you,
Russell. Awesome. So, hopefully, YouTube Punk actually probably helped you more than we did, I think, with this particular question. But hopefully, we chimed in enough to help you out. I mean, YouTube Punk was giving him a lot of great advice, and so we want to thank him for doing that. But we want to thank you for giving us $10 and making a donation to the show. We always appreciate it. I will hear in a second. Okay.
So, overall, it was a good game, which it wasn't a blowout.
Nope.
And I almost felt sorry for San Francisco a little bit because, like, they had the game.
Oh, yeah.
They were in control, and they really had a good game plan. I thought they were well coached. I actually like a lot of their players, and I don't think they should hang their head in shame at all.
No.
I mean, it was a good game. I do think the Chiefs deserved it, and the right team won, but at the same time, you know, you gave them all they had and more, and made it wasn't a blowout. It was a great game.
Absolutely. So, well, I liked it. It was good, but you know, and that is the end of the NFL season, Tim. But as we know, there is more football coming up on Saturday. The XFL starts on Saturday, and Tim, we have tickets to the game on March 1st, right?
March 1st,
the day before your birthday,
coming up,
right? Day before your birthday.
Yeah.
So
Sunday.
We're on Sunday, March 1st. We're going to see the Dallas Renegades play at Globe Life Park.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to actually watching this. Now, Tim, have you seen any of the rule changes?
I've heard a few of them, but then it's kind of like I listen to a lot of sports radio and sports talk, so they've been talking about them a lot. What's standing out the most to you?
Probably the fact that the clock doesn't stop unless it's a timeout.
Okay.
So clock just doesn't stop.
Okay.
It's always going. You can have a forward pass behind the line of scrimmage and then forward pass it again.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the rules. There is no extra point. You have a 1, 2, and 3-point attempt. And it depends on what yard line that you start at as to whether you get 1, 2, or 3 points for the play.
So they still kick field goals?
No, they don't. No field goals.
So there's no kickers at all?
Only for there's punters.
Oh, okay.
But no kickers.
Wow.
So you either go for a 1-point attempt, which means that you get the ball like on the 2 or 3 yard line.
So are there even goalposts?
I don't know.
What would be the purpose of them?
Exactly. I'm not sure. So yeah, there's either 1, 2, or 3-point attempts. And it depends on how far you are away from the goal line as to what you go for. So you can decide what you want to go for after you score a touchdown.
So I don't know if I like that. I like a kick. I like to see a long field goal made or missed.
I don't know if there's going to be a field goal. There may still be field goals. You know what I'm saying? Like there may not be extra points, but there may still be field goals. I'm not for sure. The other thing is, I'm trying to think of what else. So on the kickoff or on the punt has to fall between the 20 and the goal line. Okay, it has to fall between the 20 and the goal line.
Okay.
If it goes out, okay, if it goes into the end zone or if it goes out of bounds, the other team gets it on the 45. Their 45. Okay,
that's an interesting
exactly.
rule.
So if the kicker can't put it between the 20 and the goal line, then the other team gets it on the 45.
Right.
Okay, so it's kind of like better get it between the 20 and the goal line.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
Exactly. So now if it hits there and then rolls out or whatever, then they get it wherever it rolls out. But it has to land between the 20-yard line and the goal line.
Okay.
So that's one of the things. But yeah, so I mean there's a lot of other rules, but they hired the former VP of NFL officiating, who's that guy? What's his Dean Blandino. Okay, which you may remember Dean Blandino, for those of you Cowboys fans out there who remember the Dez catch, no catch.
Okay.
That Dean Blandino was the one who filed that it was a no catch.
Okay.
And Dean Blandino was correct based on the interpretation of the rule.
Right.
Okay, so I mean he is a guy who is experienced with rules, right?
Okay.
This is a guy from NFL who was head of officiating at one point. So he has helped create these rules to move the game forward.
Okay.
The idea behind the XFL is that it is fast and that the games move brisk.
Right.
So there's not a lot of stopping.
Well, you know, they tried some new rules on the Pro Bowl this year, too.
Yes, I saw that.
So
I mean, we're always trying to
I think that there's going to be some major rule changes over the next couple of years. Maybe not right away.
Right. But I am in favor of faster football. I would like to see, I want the game to always be moving. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, sometimes it feels like the game slows to a crawl, which this Super Bowl went fairly quickly. I felt like,
so.
like it actually moved along pretty briskly, which is nice. But like a lot of games, it's like a slog, it seems like, especially near the end. It's like they're all calling their timeouts and it just feels like it's taking forever. And I think the XFL is really trying to focus on keeping things moving. So there you go. So we got tickets to a game though. I'm excited.
Right.
My brother's going with us. So
Nice.
It's going to be you, your buddy, your son, and it's going to be my brother and me and our friend Brandon.
Okay.
So so it'll be fun. But looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to watching the games this weekend.
Yeah.
They're spaced out to where there's one every 2 hours. So you can watch them, there's not 2 games happening at one time. So the Dallas Renegades are going to play on ESPN on Saturday night, excuse me. So Saturday night, Dallas Renegades will be playing, I think, Seattle maybe. I can't remember who we're playing.
There's 8 teams, right?
No, St. Louis. Yeah. We're playing St. Louis.
Okay.
Playing St. Louis. So it'll be interesting. I want to see what happens. But, I mean, Bob Stoops is our coach. So, it's going to be, he's coaching pretty good football. They had a video where they went over the rules with the coaches, the new rules, and what they thought of them. Really interesting. They were talking about how the strategy's changed. Like, a lot of strategy has changed because, going for the 1, 2, or 3, now all of a sudden it's like, you have a decision to make.
Right.
Like, you score the touchdown, it's like, what do we go for?
Right.
And so that's going to change their strategy as a coach. Well, maybe we just go for the 1 just because we know we can get the 1 easier. Or maybe we go for the 3. If we're down, we go for the 3 so we can make the catching up easier or whatever the case may be. So, and then the forward pass rule, I think we're going to see a lot of fun stuff with, a quarterback tossing it to a receiver on the outside, tossing it downfield, something to that effect, Because literally a quarterback could take the ball and just throw it to the receiver and the receiver could just throw it out. He doesn't have to lateral it, So you may see some really funky stuff like that as well. So it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. So Russell says, thanks to you two, Punk, and love the channel every month. First time I've ever been able to catch y'all live. Hope to see y'all at Texas Pinball Festival in March. Hopefully we'll be there. We'll just get to see on schedules and everything, Russell. But glad you were here tonight, and thanks for catching it live. We always like having people here. Okay, Tim, obviously there's some more sports happening right now. There's NBA, NHL. Any thoughts on any of that? Kobe Bryant, perhaps, may be something you want to talk about, because that was a big thing that happened after the last live show.
And I think that was one of the things I wanted to mention on the Super Bowl halftime show. I thought that a lot of people did some really nice tributes and stuff, and I thought they kind of let it down a little. They did something, but it was like I didn't even catch it, you know. I thought that it could have done a little bit more because it was such a big news. And, I remember hearing it. And, when you read stuff like every day, it's like somebody died and then you realize, oh, it was fake, And I just thought, surely not, or surely they got it mixed up or something. And then as the news reports began to come in, and then it was all over the board. It's like, oh, him and his whole family were killed. Oh, him and, And then when the real truth was coming out, his daughter died with him. And it just, I guess as a fan, you hate to hear that. But then as a father, thinking about his wife having 2 other kids and losing a child and her husband, I just really made me. And then there was other families in there with them, just really, really sad. But and then hearing some of the players, and then they decided, did they even play the games? It was that big of news. Not very many things have. It's kind of like one of those deals where you're going to remember. I think I'll always remember hearing that first report. And I thought on a helicopter, it just seemed really strange and surreal. That no, surely this didn't happen. And but then you see a lot of tributes and things, and I thought most of it was. Did you notice when they lined up for the Super Bowl, they both went to the 24-yard line? A lot of people didn't even recognize this. Both teams lined up on the 24-yard line to start the game and stuff. Right. So there was some stuff done. I thought maybe they could have done a little bit more. Maybe it's because it wasn't his sport, but at the same time, a lot of times there's political things made. There was some of that stuff. I thought this would have been a great time to just remember, or to let his wife know that we're thinking about her and praying for her and stuff. So that was just it was a hard one to believe, just and then you hear the whole story of where I saw a picture where they were actually taking her to a basketball game. Did you know this?
Right. Yes.
And it was kind of a camp that he had sponsored all this stuff, and they were actually telling all, you look like 100 and something kids right there. They were telling them, look, they've been in an accident. And they were just like, all the kids were just on the floor kneeling and praying for them, not knowing that he had already died. And I thought, I know that there was some controversy when he was younger and all this stuff. And I think everybody has moments in your life where you really mess up. But to me, he had come full circle and become this great dad and a philanthropist. And he just seemed like he had turned in, and some people could argue with me, but it seemed like he started off kind of as a rough, tough kid, and he turned into this great man to me, right. In my opinion, that he just become a great dad. And, she was the only daughter that was really interested that much in basketball. The others were, and so for her to die with him, it was just really sad. So I hated to hear that. And, I guess we would just, we wouldn't know him or anything, but if anybody was affected by that, I want you to know that, we felt your pain. It just, as a dad and as a husband, you just look at things from a different perspective. Yes, he was one of the greatest basketball players of all time and all this stuff, and he'll be Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But as a dad, you just, stuff starts touching you in a different way, a different perspective, looking at that type stuff.
And I think you're right in the fact that his story was really a story of redemption. I mean, he had obviously had some relations, I think, with other women, but him and his wife were able to work it out and kind of get past that. And he kind of turned a corner and, and did some stupid stuff when he was young, I agree, and then was able to kind of get past that and like you said, I mean, kind of improve his life overall.
And it seemed like they really had it together, and they were just kind of doing these great charitable things, and they were just like they had a lot of life left to live and a lot of stuff to do, and there it is all cut short. So we really, none of us know, Right. It's like it also makes you reflect that just to be I'm fixing to turn 50 this year. Just the fact that I've lived this long, I've never died in a wreck or anything as of yet or anything, or had some disease. Some people never know their dad or their father. So the fact that I got to spend many years, the fact that yours is still around makes you, you've got to take the time and do stuff with the people you love, no matter who they are, husband, wife, and your kids, those type of things. He'll always be remembered as a great basketball player, but to his family, I I thought it was pretty fitting when they told Shaq, he was like, his kids call me Uncle Shaq. They don't think of him as a basketball player.
Right.
They think of him as this guy that was friends with my dad, So everybody, it just kind of brings in full circle that, every person is going to face that time at some point. And you hope it's late in life when you've lived and you've done all these great things, but you're not guaranteed that. So you got to live and make everything count.
Yeah, I always tell people, check the statistics. Everybody's going to die.
Right.
100%. 100%. Can't get past it.
And really, when it boils down to it, you nothing that you can't take trophies. You can't take none of that stuff with you. What really matters is what kind of person you were, how you treat people, and your family. What it boils down to, those people that are in your inner circle that really know you. So you got to appreciate and love those people. Leave that legacy more than anything else. Trophies and stuff are fun. It's good to have, but leave something that's going to be lasting a long time. And I think in a way he did that. He really redeemed himself in some areas.
So, and it was a sad thing to hear. I got the alert on my phone, like before anybody else. I was with my parents, and before any of them got the alert, like my phone went off first, and I told them that. And then they interrupted. We were watching the football game, I think, and they interrupted it. So we could hear the news and everything. But it was a sad thing, and just a lot of prayers for his wife, his remaining kids, and just hoping that everything's okay with them going forward. So it's a tough one. No matter how you slice it, it's tough.
Right, and we just lost our friend Dan. And then so like the world, they wouldn't have stopped the Super Bowl for Dan, but he was such a great man. It's almost a shame that as many people didn't know him that knew Kobe. So you think about, somebody that's that influential that the president and other people would make remarks about it that day and send condolences and stuff. Then you've done something in life. You really have had a full life if you're that popular.
Absolutely. So, okay. Well, anything else you want to say about NBA, NHL? I've been watching, Stars games, Mavericks games on and off. So I've been watching them, and we still have a little bit of season left to go.
We're not very good without him hurt.
Yeah, Luka Doncic. We're struggling a little bit. We need Luka back.
Yeah, we definitely do.
But and the Stars are not doing terrible. We've been. What are you doing? And Stars are not terrible. Hopefully, we'll get back in the swing of things. But there you go. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Seahorses at Night says, YouTube Punk says, nobody makes it out alive. Seahorses at Night says, nobody gets out of this game alive. Level 256 comes for everyone. That is correct. Right. So, and of course, guys, now the one thing I'm really excited about is that baseball season is about to start back up. And we've got a new baseball field that we're going to be going to.
Right.
So I'm very excited
to go to
about
a game.
That. I see. So we will be going to a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to going to Globe Life Field.
Right.
Which is right next to Globe Life Park. Right, exactly. So Life Insurance City or whatever you want to call it. So.
Which is where the Renegades are going to play at the
That's
old
right, Globe
field,
Life
right?
Park.
Right. Where we used to watch the Rangers play.
Exactly. So there you go. Just a couple of cord-cutting things real quick. PlayStation View officially shut down, Tim, which is sad because I had the service for a long time. I loved it, and they just couldn't make money with it. So, that was a tough thing for Sony.
It's a tough market right now.
But I will say this. When Sony announced that, they were taking such a hit on that, their stock price jumped tremendously.
Wow.
Based on that news. And so it's still up, in fact, because of that. So they were losing so much money on that, it just made business sense for them to do that. Now, in its stead, YouTube TV is taking over on the PlayStation. So if you have a PlayStation and you still want to watch live TV on your PlayStation, you can watch on YouTube TV. And YouTube TV, 2-week free trial going on right now. So if you want to try it out, it is the best service, period. There's nothing that competes with it. I mean, Hulu with live TV is fine, but YouTube TV is the best live service, in my opinion. It's kind of pricey, but for what it is, it's really good. So highly recommend that. If you want to try a 2-week free trial, go for it. And Tim, is there any investment updates? Speaking of Sony stock price going up, anything that you wanna say?
Well, our stock is just been staying pretty steady around $7. It fluctuates maybe 40-50 cents, but it hadn't really done much, but it hadn't done bad. One stock that I will mention that I was going to talk to you about is called XXII.
Okay.
It's the 24th Century Group.
Okay.
They have been lobbying forever, and there's a lot of controversy over vapes and stuff.
Vaping.
They actually our claim, one of their things is they make a very, very, very low nicotine cigarette that supposedly
to help people get off. It sounds like, yeah.
And well, they claim that it doesn't have a lot of the harmful stuff
Chemicals.
in it, and they're kind of marketing it as maybe a cigarette of the future. That's a lot, and so they have got several government contracts and stuff, and so I don't know. You know that they have a presentation coming up on the 14th. I think that stock is about 90 cents a share right now. I think
90 cents, wow.
Yeah, I think that it will, and it has been over a couple dollars, so I think it has a lot of potential.
Sounds good. So I will make a quick mention about WWE stock.
It's been crazy sporadic.
So who's your buddy that has
Mike.
a little bit? Mike should have sold when I sold.
Yes, he lost
I
the
knew
money
that
on it.
was the time to sell. I knew.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you guys haven't seen it, it dropped to $40. Okay, this was a stock that was almost to 100 like 6 months ago.
Dad,
So yes,
Did I already do my reading?
yes you did. You already did your homework. You're good. But so here's the deal, though, Tim. We're coming up on WrestleMania season again, and this stock's probably
Maybe a
going to
good
drop
time.
a little bit more.
And then
But it
good
may
time
be
to
a
buy.
good time to buy. So because here's the deal. I mean, when WrestleMania season hits, they usually get more subscribers to the network.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a good time. That means the revenue jumps up because some of those people stick around after WrestleMania. The problem with them right now is that, in my opinion, the storylines they've been offering have been kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to pick back up. I mean, and I don't watch it on a regular basis, but I watch and I see enough of it to know what's going on. And so I do think they're getting ready to turn a corner story-wise, which means that there may be more people getting involved in it. Will it get back up to $100? Not this year, I don't think.
Right.
But will
But
it go up?
has it bottomed out is the question.
I think if it hits 38, I'm buying immediately.
Okay.
I may buy
38?
it. I might buy at 45.
Well, maybe it's something that people should look at buying options for then
Yeah.
if it's...
Well, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily recommend that. I'm not a big option trader like you are, Tim. But, I mean, you may think about it because WrestleMania season almost always brings increase in revenue and in exposure to WWE. So, I mean, and here's the deal. I think they're worth more than what the stock is. I really think it's probably a $50 or $60 stock, and based on revenue.
And has Robinhood partial shares started yet?
Yes.
So if you can't afford $40 a stock, you can buy some partial shares now and still make some money off of that.
Correct. Yeah. So if you don't want to buy a full share, you can buy a partial. You can buy them for as little as $1. So I mean, that's a way to do it. But yeah. So it is. That is an option for you. But Tim, I feel sorry for people like your friend Mike who had a ton in WWE stock.
And occasionally I mention Stash, which is a lot like Acorns, guys. Just to give y'all an idea of what I have earned over the year.
Oh, so YouTube Mike said happy early birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. I'm just catching up. Yeah, the VCS is still vaporware as far as we know. They have shown pictures of it running, but I mean it's not necessarily vaporware. I think they will get it out, but I don't think it's going to be what they promised us. By the way.
Okay, I have been in it over a year, and I really didn't do very good at the first of the year. But for the over a year, I have earned 12% interest.
Nice.
So name me a bank account that'll pay you that.
So here's the thing: in the '80s, right, there were savings accounts and things that would give you that. You can't get that at all in a savings account anymore. People wonder why you go in the investment route is because, like, even if you just go with funds, Tim, like if you don't, a fund will return more than your savings account. A money market fund. Okay, if you do something like that, will return more than your savings account.
I can tell you what my investment was because I put $10 a week in there.
What?
Into this Stash account. I'll show everybody. I put $10 a week, which real easy to figure out. It's like $520, right?
A year, right?
A little over a year now. I'm at $807.
There you go.
In an account that I don't hardly touch.
Nice.
But one of the things is you can buy partial shares. That's what brought me into it, and I bought. Now I probably own a share of Apple because occasionally they say, "Where do you want to put your $10?" Oh, well, I want to put it in Apple, or oh, I want to put it in energy stocks, or oh, I want to put it in oil stocks. And some of them did not do very good. I was like, "Oh, that was not a good move. I'll transfer that to what is." One of the highest stocks that I have kept for a long time is MasterCard.
Yeah.
And especially around Christmas, I said, well, it's going to go up. It has actually stayed up and earned about 23% interest.
There you go.
So had I not lost this year, I was at 12% last year. I probably am closer to 20% interest this year.
There you go.
Because I've learned. So if you guys are not, you just really want to play the stock market, but it's kind of like a mutual fund that you can start yourself, that would be one route that I will keep wanting to recommend because it's doing way better than I am doing.
There you go.
On Robinhood.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, Stash is a good way. Robinhood, of course, guys, we have the links down below. If you want a free stock on Robinhood, you can do that. But you can buy partial stocks now on Robinhood, which means that you can buy $1 of Apple if you want to, and that dollar will go up, according to a percentage that Apple goes up. So that is available to you now. So, I mean, you don't have to buy a whole stock anymore like you used to.
Right.
So, anyway. But, yeah, WWE stock, YouTube Punk said Rock and Sock Connection, Tim. I don't know if you remember that, but that was The Rock and Mankind had a tag team back in the 90s called the Rock and Sock Connection. I miss 90s wrestling still.
Yeah.
But anyway, good time to be a fan back then. And that's when WWE was at its, like, ultra peak, never going to get there again.
We bought a WWE game, and it has all the old school wrestlers in it. We bought it for a prize up there, and I thought, somebody your age is really going to want that. And a little big kid knew every wrestler up there. He's like, oh, man, it's got The Undertaker, and it's got Hulk Hogan up there. He's like, I want that one. I was like, okay, wow, I don't even know where I guess he watched it on YouTube.
The network,
I don't know.
Like WWE Network has all of their stuff ever.
Well, he was very happy. In fact, I went and bought another one on the next shipment. I thought, nobody's ever going to, I thought it would literally sit on the shelf for months and somebody would, your age or something would come up there and want it. A little bitty kid about 5 or 6 years old knew every wrestler on there and bought it. Never got it for a prize.
Anyway, okay, so Tim, let's get to our movie and TV talk. First things first, though, Star Wars: Rise of the Skywalker. I'm just gonna bring it right up front because I did see it.
Yeah, by now the spoilers are out there. Sorry, guys.
Exactly. So we are going to do a spoiler alert. In fact, now let's save that for the end. So let's go ahead and do what you've been watching otherwise. So.
Okay. Well, I'll admit, my wife has us on 90 Day Fiance, and that's more of a chick flick.
Chick show.
Yeah, chick show. It's on TLC. But the more I watch it with her, it's kind of like a soap opera. I am kind of gotten into it, and if you don't know what the show is based on, is anytime somebody wants to marry somebody that lives outside the U.S., and they bring them on what's called a K-1 visa. They come to the United States, they have to get a K-1 visa, and they have 90 days from the second they land to either get married or they have to go back. So you think about it, this is a person that you probably have talked to online and stuff for a year.
Now, I don't know if this is true. You used to have to go see that person, and have physical pictures with that person before you could get the K-1. Because I have a friend that did this.
It must be because every one of them have gone and they have met. But a lot of times it's like,
how long? For one time.
Yeah, how long have you known this person? Well, 9 days.
Right.
But you know how it is in modern day dating. When you talk online, they FaceTime. So it's not like they really, over a year, if you FaceTime with somebody, you would probably get to know them just as much as anybody dating somebody for 6 months.
Right.
But living and being in the same place.
Totally different.
Cultures are different. The way they do things are different. And they're coming to the United States. So a lot of them you're thinking, oh, they're just here to get that visa. Because once they get the visa and once they get the green card, they can divorce you and they're free to live anywhere in the United States. So, and they always pick the rich guy that's, my age and he's dating an 18-year-old from the Philippines. Then there's always the guy that is poor and he looks really good online and she's expecting a rich guy. And when she gets here, he's broke, But so there's always these funny storylines, but some of them you're thinking, oh, they're just using them. They're not going to make it. They're not going to last. And then others you're like, wow, they seem like they really like each other, and I hope that it works. And
so I said I had a friend that did this.
Yes.
And they're still married.
Yes, I know them. They come into Gatti's a lot.
Oh, do they? I didn't realize this. Okay.
They do.
Hey,
and
what's
so,
up, bud? My son is in here. You can probably hear him.
And so, so in fact, you're talking about somebody that works for Best Buy in Longview, right?
No. He works for ABC Auto Parts in Longview.
Okay.
David Hood.
Yeah.
Y'all see?
I thought he worked at Best Buy.
No, that's a different David.
Oh, okay.
David.
I know the other David too though, because I met him.
Yeah, you met them both.
I met his wife,
right?
And she's
from the
speak,
Philippines.
Yeah, and so a lot of it's language and cultural barriers and different things, and so my wife had me watch it. Well, there's most people who watch it. It's a weekly show, but we've never seen it, so there's like 8-9 seasons.
Right, exactly.
So we're going through each season, and and kind of, but so that's been interesting. I really enjoy kind of watching that with her. Now I'm watching the second season of a show that I recommended a long time ago. It's called I'm a Killer.
Okay.
And it basically interviews people who are in prison on death row. And they admit, well, yeah, I killed somebody. But then you kind of hear their story, what led to that point.
Sure.
And it makes you feel sorry for them and the fact that they're going to be executed.
Right.
A lot of it was something that happened when they were teenagers or 30 years ago. And then you hear about maybe it was a lady and she was abused by this guy. And it makes you think, do they deserve to die?
Right.
Just because they took a life, and we've always been conservative on the, oh yeah, eye for an eye or something, but it really makes you think there's always circumstances, or then are they even telling the truth today, and they just made up this story to make you feel sorry for them, which is the case. So I find that show very interesting. The last thing that I watched was a documentary that I run across called Bottled Up. Have you seen this?
So after you sent me this, I looked it up, and I was like, man, I really want to watch this. But, tell me give me your review.
Okay. Well, do you know what a Dublin Dr. Pepper is?
Absolutely, I do know.
Okay. You know that it's...
I'm from Texas.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. You know because you're from Texas.
Exactly.
Dr. Pepper was originally bottled in Waco, Texas, but it was kind of discovered...
somebody's not happy out there. Sorry, guys.
It was discovered in a place near Waco called Dublin.
Right.
So the original Dr. Pepper was made with imperial pure cane sugar, and it's very sweet. And then later on, they came up with the high fructose corn syrup that they use in every soft drink.
Exactly.
Because it was cheaper.
Right.
And it saved money. And they went to cans and stuff. But Dublin kept the original recipe because some people preferred it. Now, have you ever had a Dublin Dr. Pepper?
Lots of times.
And I do think there's a difference in the taste. Some
Absolutely.
people say there's no difference. No, there's a
difference.
There's a difference, and it's sweeter. But in today's market, how many soft drinks do you go to that say real sugar inside?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now you see Coke Zero. They don't want you to know there's sugar in there. Exactly. They're hiding it from you. So basically, Dr. Pepper come and said, look, you're kind of giving us a bad name. In other words, you can't, in the original drawing said they could only sell that Dublin Dr. Pepper in like a 4-county area.
Right.
Well, they were shipping it all over the world.
Sure.
And at some point, Dr. Pepper was like, well, you're violating, you're going to have to quit. We're going to make it and sell it.
Right.
And we're going to put it in cans. And they're like, no, our owner said it always had to be in a bottle, kind of. So it's kind of this war that between Dr. Pepper and now they did shut it down. In fact, you can't buy Dublin Dr. Peppers anymore. You can buy pure cane sugar Dr. Pepper.
Correct.
But it's made from Dr. Pepper, which is made in headquarters in Plano, Texas. And it's not theirs, and it's not in bottles, and it's, according to them, not the same.
Right.
So they had to start a separate company. And so that whole town dried up. When they lost jobs, it was really, they had Dr. Pepper festivals, they had a lot of stuff, and they're like, how can you shut down the town and the history of the people who made it?
Right.
And a lot of people were mad at Dr. Pepper. I'll quit drinking it and all that stuff. Their solution was, well, we'll make it for them in a can and you can get it that way.
Sure.
And most people are like, oh, okay. But really, it really destroyed the town. So if you like Dr. Pepper or any kind of soft drinks, if you're a Coke drinker or whatever, you might find even it goes into a lot of the history of how it was made, how it was discovered, and they're very passionate about it. So I thought it's a really interesting documentary about that.
Well, I want to watch it. I saw it was on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime.
So you can watch it there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This thing is like really going off here. Say these little toy things. See, I don't know. I don't know how it goes off. We might have to take it into the other room.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's probably a Switch somewhere I don't know about.
Can I help?
But I did see the documentary. I saw it was on Amazon Prime. I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch it now.
I think I found
And it's not super long. Like I said, half of it's just the history of how Dr. Pepper was invented and made and all that stuff. And it's
turn her off.
pretty interesting.
Got it.
Sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to throw a couple of things your way that you need to watch.
Okay.
I'm actually going to do that. Now,
You're gonna
somebody
run?
said in the chat room Picard.
Daddy?
And I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
think I found it.
Good job.
That's a big deal.
Yes, it
And
is.
I
Really
feel-
want to watch it. So it's on the list. Haven't seen it yet. Let's see. And YouTube Punk said, had a friend who would buy me Dublin Dr. Peppers as a gift. Bottled up.
Dr.
Check that out. Yeah, let us know, YouTube Punk, what you think. Dr. Pepper, somebody really loves Dr. Pepper.
Well, that was funny because part of it is when they were first come out, that's why they were out of that 4-county areas. People were like bootleggers.
Right.
And they would run whole cases of it to Oklahoma and Louisiana and to Dallas and stuff. And Dr. Pepper was okay with it because it was really getting Dr. Pepper everywhere.
Exactly.
It was kind of a joke, oh, the bootleggers are here, you
Right.
know. And they really let it go by for decades. Then all of a sudden, okay, hey, you can't do that no more. It's like, well, you're just now saying something about it, So watch the documentary. It's very good.
Joe Rivera, awesome show like always. Yes, Joe, thanks for being here, buddy. I need to talk to you. I'm going to call you. So I'm going to call you here in a bit. Hopefully everything's going well your way. I saw that Joe had food poisoning from Whataburger.
Oh,
Sucks. Sorry about that, Joe.
Yeah.
So it happens, but I hope you guys are feeling better now.
but keep
So-
posting baby pictures.
Exactly.
Right?
Want to see the baby
We
pictures
enjoy
for
those.
sure. That's right. But anyway, so here's some things you need to watch.
Okay.
Broken on Netflix.
Broken.
Need to watch Broken. So what is Broken? It's a 4-part documentary series about basically our manufacturing processes and how they are
Broken.
broken.
Okay.
So it talks
I would
about
like that.
bootleg cosmetics is one
Right.
episode. IKEA furniture that tips over is
Okay,
another
that's
episode. So there's 4 of them. I can't remember what the other 2 are.
I'll watch that. then.
Watch all 4. Okay.
Okay.
American Factory.
Okay.
Need to watch this on Netflix. American Factory.
Okay.
This is about a GM plant in Ohio that shut down, and a Chinese company that makes auto glass bought it and reopened it.
Okay.
Okay, and hired a lot of the GM workers, and the whole clash. Remember
Help
Gung
me.
Ho?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like the 80s movie where
This
they...
is Gung Ho in real life.
Okay.
And it is just like Gung Ho the movie in a way. So it is amazing to me. You should watch. American Factory.
Okay.
American Factory. So Broken.
I'm going to text myself a note there.
Yeah. Broken.
Does look
4-part
like-
series on how our basically a lot of our processes, like manufacturing processes, are broken.
Okay.
American Factory, Chinese company takes over an American plant. So it was a GM plant pumping out GM cars. They closed the factory for 5 years. Chinese company buys it, reopens it, hires a lot of people who work for GM, and the conflicts that arise.
Okay.
Incredible.
That sounds
As
just like me.
somebody who's in the manufacturing industry, opened my eyes a lot. So really good. And then the last thing that you, of all people, must
Okay.
watch, The Pharmacist on Netflix.
Okay.
You've got to see,
Gotta
the,
see the
Pharmacist.
pharmacist. I hadn't even
So,
seen that advertisement.
The Pharmacist is about a pharmacist.
Okay.
It's a 4-part series, just like Broken, but it is about a pharmacist that his son gets killed, and he kind of he kind of takes it to the extreme. He finds his son's killer, puts him behind bars, and then realizes that, and then starts fighting a battle against the pharmaceutical industry. That's what
Okay.
it's about. I'm not going to spoil anything more than that. The
All right.
Pharmacist.
I trust you. If you think I like it, I'll probably
You will
will.
like The
Okay.
Pharmacist, okay? I know last time we had Don't F with Cats,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so
Yeah.
The Pharmacist is not... It's kind of
kinda
like that
like
in a
that.
way, because it's kind of like it transitions from one story into another.
Okay.
The Pharmacist does the same thing. So you really think it's about this guy trying to hunt down his son's murderer, but it morphs into something completely different.
Okay.
Okay, so it is that. It is
Right.
that, but there's
But-
a story after that.
Right.
And that's
So
what
it
comes
led
down
to this.
Right.
Okay.
And just how determined this guy was is amazing. And so that's why you need to watch it. Everybody should watch Broken, American Factory, and The Pharmacist on Netflix.
Okay.
Watch them. Watch them all. So, he's got YouTube Punk has them. You
Okay.
got it. Watch them all. Watch them all. And you see, like, here's me saying I need to just cancel Netflix, and then what I do, I got Netflix and I find 3 things that I just have to watch. So Broken is really good because, like I said, I'm always interested in manufacturing and everything. American Factory is really good, and like I said, The Pharmacist. Oh, The Pharmacist.
How would you rank? Which one the must watch? Like I got
for
to
you,
go
The
home tonight.
Pharmacist. You need to watch The Pharmacist tonight. Then
Because I need a new show.
Then watch American Factory, then watch Broken.
All right.
So watch them in that order. If I was you, because The Pharmacist you'll like better than the other 2, but the other 2 are good too. Broken is fascinating because like IKEA, it kind of talks about how IKEA furniture's cheap, right? We all know that,
right?
But like,
at what expense? Though,
yeah,
right?
exactly, and that's really what it's about. At what expense?
Right.
And then of course on the fake cosmetics, that on Broken they have one on fake cosmetics. Super fascinating. And look, I don't wear makeup.
Right.
But it's just...
My daughter would probably really like to watch it with me because she's all into YouTube, watching makeup videos and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. If she is, you need to watch that.
Okay.
But I forget what the other 2 are on because I've watched so much since then. It's like there's 2 more that are... They're all good. They're all good.
Broken.
So, Broken. So there you go. So I've watched some movies. And I've actually watched some movies. Who would have thought? I watched Knives Out. Okay. Do you know this? Daniel Craig. It's got who's Captain America? Chris Evans is in it.
How'd I miss it? Was it at the movies?
It was. It's been at the movies. It's still in the movies.
Still at the movies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Really? Okay.
So, do you like Clue, the movie?
Mm-hmm.
This is Clue.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a whodunit?
It's a whodunit.
Okay,
So it really is a
like
whodunit. Okay, and it is. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I can spoil everything for you. I'm just going to tell you. I think it comes out on demand pretty quickly, pretty soon. Watch it.
Okay.
So watch it. Knives Out is fantastic. So I loved it. It was written and directed by Rian Johnson, who you may know as the guy who directed Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Okay, which was the last one before Rise of Skywalker. This is his piece de resistance, man. It is. If you like Clue, you like Whodunit.
Okay. You know I like Whodunit. So.
You will like Knives Out.
Okay.
It is really fun. Really fun. Oh, it has who else does it have in it? It has it's got so many actors you'd recognize. I can't think of them all at the moment.
Okay.
But lots of great actors.
I'll have to watch it.
Look it up. So Knives Out. Dark Waters.
Okay.
Mark Ruffalo.
Right.
So you may remember me telling you to watch a certain documentary on Netflix called The Devil You Know.
Yes, I
did watch
that.
This is the theatrical film version of The Devil You Know. So this is Mark Ruffalo plays an attorney that figures out that, this chemical that is a byproduct of Teflon is killing people. And it's in the water in West Virginia, the same thing that the documentary tells you, but it's told from the lawyer's perspective.
Okay.
And so it's got Mark Ruffalo in it. It's got Tim Robbins in it. Tim Robbins gives one of the best speeches I've heard on film in a long time.
Okay.
In this film. And then it's also got President from Independence Day. Help me.
Martin Sheen?
No. Independence Day. What's his name? Was the president, gave the speech. Been in a lot of movies and things. Golly, somebody help me out here in the live chat. You would know him if you saw him, and I can't think of his name at the moment, but he's in it. It's really good.
Okay.
So knowing the story, because I'd already watched The Devil You Know, knowing the story, I think really, obviously, I knew a lot of the stuff going in. But if you didn't know that stuff, if you didn't watch The Devil You Know, wow, you would have been blown away, I think.
Okay.
But knowing what I knew, the acting was just outstanding. I think Mark Ruffalo actually produced it as well. So he was not only in it, he produced it. Bill Pullman, thank you, Bill Pullman. So Bill Pullman was the guy, but Bill Pullman is in it. Yeah. Tim Robbins is in it. Okay. Mark Ruffalo is in it. You're gonna.
Is it out on?
It is. I think it's coming out on demand. You have to go to the theater still, but it's coming out on demand pretty soon. But watch Dark Waters, and if you haven't watched The Devil You Know, which was the documentary I said on Netflix, you should watch. Right. Watch Dark Waters. That'll make up for it.
Okay.
And then Tim, I've got Disney Plus, so I watched the live action Aladdin.
Oh, what'd you think?
It was good. They had 2 new songs that kind of didn't fit with all the old songs, which is my only criticism of it. But still enjoyed it. Still liked it. Not as much as the original. Hard to replace Robin Williams, but Will Smith does the best job.
Did you see The Lion King?
I did not. It's on Disney Plus too.
Yeah,
I have not watched it. So, but I will watch that one. I was curious about it. But Aladdin was worth the watch. Okay. I don't like any of the live actions as much as the originals.
Sure.
But it's very entertaining. You'll like it. Story's a little bit different, which is always good. So, okay. Are we done? Crisis on, I was about to say, Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW, Arrow died, and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, spoiler. If you didn't know that, the show's ending anyway,
Okay.
so it's like you knew. But it was good. Little cheesy, corny, but I like my comic book crossovers like that anyway. So anyway, Rise of the Skywalker, Tim. Spoiler.
Right.
Spoiler.
If you haven't seen it, you should have watched it already.
That's right. You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Yeah.
You should be gone if you don't want to hear it. So.
What'd you think?
Awesome.
Yeah, I liked it.
Great.
I'm like, how do you not like it?
Yeah.
I was like, and it could end.
Yeah.
It was like, that was it. It wrapped up so much.
Yep.
I thought it was great.
It was not perfect.
No.
Okay, was
But,
not
gosh.
perfect, but I tell you what, it did the best job in a long time of making me think this is it, and it's not it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there were so many false finishes, right?
Right.
Like, oh, they're gonna finish. This is where it ends, right here, and then all of a sudden, nope, then in there.
And,
you know,
and how they did the scenes with Carrie Fisher was awesome.
yes, and
you
you
know,
could tell. I mean,
yeah.
they were having to work around the limitations with her, and
Right.
that, with her death, obviously. But that was fine with me. Had no
Right.
problem with
Me
it.
too.
I realized in this one that I care more about the new characters than I thought I did.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I mean, the last 2 movies, I just kind of felt like I'm watching movies, but I
Right.
don't know if I really care about these characters per se.
You got to get it.
I care about these characters because they're kids of characters I care about.
Exactly. All of a sudden, you're like, you want to Kylo Ren to live. You know,
Exactly.
you
You're
want
like,
him to
wait a second.
happily ever after. They're going to sit on the throne, and they're
Exactly.
gonna be, it's like,
right. It's like we
he's
got
coming
this.
back to the good side.
Right,
Everything's going
exactly.
to work out great. And you're
Right.
like, oh,
Exactly.
sad.
Exactly. But I think you couldn't have. I mean,
No,
it
it's
was
great.
perfect. Exactly. So I mean, there were a lot of plot holes and other things. But here's the deal: for what they had to work with, they wrapped it up nicely. I think Emperor Palpatine, man, I mean, still Ian McDermott, right?
Mm-hmm.
Golly, still great. I mean, that role, he just played it awesome. I mean, he was evil to evil.
I think if you were, it didn't have as much action like sword fighting,
Right.
or
Not-
lightsaber fighting
it
as
had some good
usual.
ones.
It did, but not like the Yoda scene or something.
Right.
Where he just But what it had was it just really wrapped up those stories a lot, and I was
Right.
like, I thought it was good. I was like. When I was over, I'm like, there are going to be people who are just going to blast it. And I'm like, what do you expect? How would you write one then?
Exactly.
Because it's like, wow, I just thought it was really good. And I think that when my wife watches it, when it comes out, I think she'll like it.
Yeah, Deirdre did.
That's what I said.
So my wife liked it.
That's what I told her. I said, you could not be a fan of Star Wars and you will like this movie. It's not, to her, Star Wars is lightsaber fighting. That's what it is, and Darth Vader, and stuff. She doesn't really. I'm like, this is a good story.
Yeah, and like I said, it made me care about the new characters because, like I said, I always felt like the new characters. The only reason I cared about them was because they were related to the characters I cared about. But when, like you said at the end, when it's Rey and you're Kylo and you're like, what's gonna happen? And you're like, you really care. Like I actually care about these people. Like I want to know what happens. And so, it did a really good job of making it.
There were
me care.
several times throughout the movie that people clapped, or you could sense it, and I was like, this is a good movie. It's really engaging the people who wanted to see it.
Right, and a lot of fan service. You see Wedge Antilles in there, which I thought was awesome, and obviously having Lando back was awesome.
Right.
I mean, man, who doesn't like Lando?
Right.
But there's just so many great things about it that I can overlook all of the imperfection of it and say, as a package, it did exactly what I wanted to do.
Right, very entertaining.
Last Jedi left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, and it's not Rian Johnson's fault necessarily. I felt like the whole movie was good. The ending I felt like was weak.
Yeah.
And it just really left kind of a
Well, it's because they
bitter
were
taste.
It's like they were setting up they're always setting up for the next movie. Always
Right.
setting up for the next movie. It's like you can't ever wrap up anything, and this is how they did it. I thought it was good.
So I thought it was good too, and you should see it if you haven't seen it already. Rise of Skywalker. It is not on Disney Plus. I don't know when it's coming. It's still in movie theaters.
Right.
Well, I think it's out of most movie theaters now.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think, like, when we saw it, I think it was the last weekend it was going to play.
Oh, wow.
So it's out of most movie theaters now. Now, with that said, as good as Rise of Skywalker was, I like Knives Out better.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you liked Rise of the Skywalker, I mean,
need to see
look,
Knives Out.
I'm making the Star Wars connection because, like I said, Rian Johnson did The Last Jedi and he wrote Knives Out. So all I have to say about Knives Out, Daniel Craig with a Southern accent.
Okay.
Okay, think about that for a second.
Pulls it off.
He pulls it off. Okay, because how we see Daniel Craig?
Right.
007,
Right.
right?
Tough guy.
Yeah, English accent.
English accent. Yeah.
Southern accent.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Right.
You need to see it. So it's very good. But anyway, so I think we're done. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done too.
I gave Tim like tons of homework tonight. Like you've
go
got
home.
homework like up the wazoo.
That's
man.
good though.
I want you to message me when you're done watching each of these and let me know what you think.
Okay.
So when you watch after you're done with The Pharmacist, you may get done with The Pharmacist tonight.
Oh.
Because it cliffhangers every time. And you may just say, "There's 4 episodes. Let's just do it."
That's what happened.
Exactly. But yeah, you may watch The Pharmacist tonight and just be like, another episode. I started it 2 days ago and I finished it. I mean, it's 4 hours.
Right.
It's a 4-hour movie basically. So I mean, it's not like it's going to take you all night, but you will. You'll watch one and you'll be like, "Oh, what's next? What's next?" Like it builds on itself. It's very good. But anyway. Let's see. RC Colson says, "Hey guys, staying on here a little long tonight." Hey, yes, we're about to wrap it up right now, Eric. But while Eric's here, listen to the podcast. Eric, I'm sorry I haven't called you back, buddy. Sorry. I'm like right here. I'm sending messages to like our personal friends here. I don't know. It's like I'm right here. But anyway, I will get together, Eric. I will call you. And but if you have any questions, of course, you call me back. We've been so busy though with stuff. Like I said, Tim, you've been busy. I've hardly talked to you.
Right.
Like in fact, when we did the live show today, I literally walked in here and we just started. Right. Usually we have like 10 or 15 minutes to kind of catch up. Didn't have that tonight. But anyway, anything else?
No, I got to get going. I'm getting
to wrap it up.
Yeah, well, no, I need to go make an errand on my way home.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, thank you guys for being here. Tim, I mentioned this, but I think it's 5 weeks to the next live show. Even though we have a short month, which is weird, but we have 1, 2, 3. No, it's 4.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay, so 4 weeks. We're maybe we'll try the live Mr. Gatti shot on May 5th or March 5th. Excuse me, March 5th. Hey, we will have been to the XFL game at that point. So
that'll be cool to talk about.
Exactly. So you guys can stay tuned for that. But March 5th will be the next time we have a live show. We hope you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Till then, take care. Have a good night. Get some rest, and we'll see you in March.
Bye everybody.